G'day, with Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined this morning by Algared. How you doing, buddy?
I feel very, very tired today.
Welcome to the club. It's a membership of many. Right.
At the moment, it feels like a membership of one. So if I can like that, I haven't died. I've just fallen asleep.
Old man snoozing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I feel like today.
All right. Well, we started a little early, so I'm going to be interested to see if chat even turns up. This will be really good. Oh no, there's a few people in chat already. Good to see you all. Yep. So
I did see Aves and Sparkplug.
Well, we're both sitting here, so I thought let's start early. The one thing I do kind of want to go off kind of straight off the bat while we get questions starting to roll in. I will get the bot up in a minute.
Yep.
Is the monthly report. Me and I were just going through this. With the let's zoom in a bit. Hang on. With the unannounced ships. Now I think it was 4 or 5 unannounced ships on the last time I read this yesterday.
4 unannounced.
Yeah,
they're saying.
But how many of them are new? Right, my brain. I think someone was saying 5 to me yesterday. And I don't remember where that came from. And I went, well, what was 5 unannounced ships that I could think of? Well, we know there's a Prowler variant coming. What if there's a second one? Because when there've been combat ships, they, like look what happened with the Valkyrie, the Paladin, and the Asgard. But then when they do something that's more utilitarian, so like the Prospector, they only did the one variant. So my brain thought is, well, they've done a Golem. They're clearly going to make a variant of the Golem. And then we know that there's 2, more than likely 1 or 2 Intrepid variants coming. There's all 5 unannounced ships. We haven't seen a lot of new ships. And it's kind of, I know they've been training people, but it just feels bad and not as cool as it's been previously where they're more bespoke. You know what I mean?
Well, I think part of the problem is, like, in terms of the gameplay we've got, and even the gameplay that's coming, what new ships do we need? Like, what professions, what things, what niches, what holes are needed to be filled by new ships that you can think of now? Maybe I'm just tired and my brain's not thinking. But
you're thinking about it.
I can't think.
You're thinking about discussion last night. I know where you're going, but yeah. Leave that for now. But look, I would prefer. It just feels like I understand that they had to train people up, right? It's a necessity thing, but it just feels like you went so far without like needlessly going into variants that then you've now just gone completely the other way, and we've got nothing but these cheap, not as good polished kind of variants, and that's kind of what it just seems like a little bit of a cop out. Do you know what I mean? And I know they had to do this because they didn't have the people and stuff, like they were pushed up against the wall. But at what point do you stop doing that? Because it's kind of like we've gone, oh, they're buying them anyway, so we'll just keep making them. And it's they never, like, oh, it's successful. They never stop whether they should. It's that line from Jurassic Park. The one about the whether you could, you should stop and think about whether you should.
Yeah,
Malcolm says it. I can't remember what scene it's in, but it's where they're talking in the restaurant type of thing, I think, from memory.
Yeah, because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of applies to a few things they've done lately, like the blades and the bomb racks and stuff like that as well. So, like just because people will buy them and you can get away with selling them doesn't mean you should, because sometimes people buy stuff out of FOMO. Like last week we polled chat, and it was really obvious to me that most people picked them up for the skins. They weren't getting them for the blades, so they were just happy to pay extra to get the skins that they really wanted. So it tells me also bundling should not be a thing. And if you go down that route, you're going to piss a lot of people off, like they did with what's the game? World of Warships did it, and it makes it a very bad taste when you're already paying multiple hundreds of dollars to buy these ships. They bundle them all in a thing, and you can't just buy the ship. You've got to buy all this extra shit that you don't want to get what you want. And that's just bad consumerism in my book to do that. Yeah.
Well, for unannounced ships, like whether they're side grades or not, I still ask the question: what aspects are needed? And
there's your alarm, Algared. 6 o'clock, time to go.
Yep, that's the 6 o'clock time to start.
Yeah.
And I can't think of any profession that we necessarily need. Like most of the professions that we want are in, unless it's a farming ship or but the main professions are in, and we'd be doubling up. And so finding ship's great. Finding side grade's great.
Yeah, I think the other one that we're probably going to see is obviously refueling. That makes a lot of logical sense. And I don't have a problem with that because there's only really the one ship that does it. So it's not really doubling up. It's just like going down to the smaller ones and stuff.
All right. So we've got a fueling ship we need.
Yeah. I don't really have problems with things like the golem and stuff like that. That was never the issue for me. It's just that for the longest time we've had all these really cool, unique, awesome, like the amount of work it takes to go to do that. I know it takes more time, but it makes every ship feel unique and special. And it's kind of okay if you're going into, you know what you're buying into. So you buy a Vanguard and you know you're getting that modularity. That's totally fine because it's a part of the sales pitch. But when you just take a prospector and turn it into a fortune, that really kind of diminishes the uniqueness of that prospector. That the people brought in thinking, oh, this is kind of my style. This is the thing that I'm going to have. And now all of a sudden you've just cloned it and made it a salvager as well. It just doesn't go very well. It leaves a sour taste in the mouth.
But and I know I get what you're saying, but ships like the prospector certainly miss. That prospector hull was built with the idea of being modular, of being able to do variants off the hull.
Yeah, I can write lore too.
So the law fits with that. Now I know you might say you don't. It's still lazy, but it's
okay. So
it's giving.
So the problem is, stop. Pick any other ship that they've done it to. Then that's my point. It's got nothing to do with law. What I'm trying to say is like they've essentially cheapened that. They had this really cool, unique, detailed level of ships, and they've now kind of cheapened it because they had to, because they just didn't have the people. And they're selling more ships than they've ever sold before, coming up to August this year. So literally, they're going to sell a ship, obviously, at this patch, the Prowler one. The next time they sell a ship, which will be the month after that, we've actually had a ship release every month for a year.
Yep.
And they've all not very been unique. You go back and look at those ships and actually have a look at which ones are unique. Most of them have been side grades. Or what I would call side grades.
The point I'm making, though, with most of these new ships is they are filling out professions or roles that we've already got, and so that's why they don't feel as exciting.
That adds to it as well. I agree.
Now, some of them are variants of ships we've already had, and you go, but and in a sense, I don't mind seeing the variants of those other ships, but it does lessen that sense of, wow, this ship, a new ship. It's not a new explorer. You know, we've got several explorers. It's not a. I suppose you could have a scanning ship, another scanning ship that's working. I suppose you could have another refueling ship, another. You know, for some areas where the ships we've got are lighter in number.
Yeah.
Refueling, repair. Those areas, and when you think of it, salvage was, having the fortune was not necessarily a bad thing because we only had 2 salvage ships, so having a third was a nice padding out of that profession. So fortune is salvage ship. So it's just, because they're not new professions, because it's not new gameplay and something brand new, it doesn't feel as exciting. But so yeah. I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I'm going to do a quick poll because I just want to read the room. Maybe I'm off, right? But I'm just curious because I feel deflated. Right, so there's a poll going out, which is just simply, are you over the types of ships we've had the last 12 months? And I just want to see where you guys are at. Maybe I'm a bit out of it. But I'd just like to see where everyone else is. And what I mean by that is obviously just the side grading, take a ship that we already have and make it red instead of blue, add some fins and give it a different role. Or would you rather have something completely bespoke and unique? And I think we've lost a little bit of the specialness in the last 12 months, and I'd like to get back to that. Yeah. Nice to see a lot of people in chat, first-time chatters as well. Yeah, we thought we'd go a little bit earlier today because my sleep pattern's a little bit out of whack. I did do an episode with SA yesterday. He helped me with the TAC buyer's guide, so you can look forward to that one. Probably coming straight away. And me and Algared have to sit down and do the Idris one, which is going to be a big one. No, is there anyone you want to bring on for that one, Algared?
Sorry, which one?
The Idris.
Probably just thinking, if you want to do a lore aspect, maybe Paul. If you want to do a more
What's up to
function
you?
aspect, I'd think of SA. It'd be two I'd think of, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll kind of let you decide on that one because you're more into the big ships than I am, so I'll just kind of follow your lead on that one.
It's only because I've got more of them you got.
Yeah, but you kind of put more time because you've got them. That's what I mean. You know, you invest more time into to learning about them than I did in that regard. So, yeah.
Yep. So Sparkplug says your scientists were too preoccupied with whether or not they could. They didn't stop to think if they should.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's could and should. That's right. Yeah, that's the one. Thank you for that. I couldn't quite remember how it went. But it's the same thing, and it relates to them making these ships and selling blades and all the things they're doing. I do want to get SA and so SA in his real life he does a lot of marketing stuff, as well as the military stuff. But I want to get him together with Paul. Paul also has a background in marketing. Because there's something SA just kind of launched into a rant after the show yesterday. I went, you just put that so elegantly and perfectly about what Star Citizen's doing. I want to capture that and put it in an episode. And so I do want to get them together and talk about that at some point because he nailed what I've been trying to say for years. And I can't always articulate my words, but yeah, he just smashed it. And I was like, yeah, I wish I'd recorded it. It was that good. And it was an impassioned plea. Yeah, he nailed it. Like he's talking about what marketing were doing wrong and how they should do it right. And I've never heard it said so well. And I won't spoil it, so I'll let him talk about that for himself, and we'll get that in an episode. All right. So Twitch said no, with 4 people saying no and 2 saying yes. But then on YouTube, it's pretty split. It's kind of the other way with 56%. 34 votes total on YouTube and 44 saying no. So a little bit split. I think we can say that safely. It's kind of split. And I'd be curious to know what the no people think there. Like, why are you not sick of the variants? You don't really care, or I don't know. I'm just curious. Obviously, maybe I'm overreacting, but it just feels a bit regurgitated. I don't know how else to put that.
Well, you're right. It is the same. It feels lackluster, but I think part of that is just because it's expanding out those lines, those trades we've already got. It's filling out the ships, and you know full well. Sergio have always said they want a ship in every range, but they also eventually want to double up on those ships. Yeah. So it's nothing we didn't expect. There's nothing we weren't told in the past would happen. It's just probably happening a little bit sooner than we wanted. And when I try and think of the professions we don't have fully in game yet, there are ships already kind of catering for that. And so there's, again, having a new ship that's does something totally out of the blue and totally brand new. There's not too many areas that I can think of off the cuff that really do that. So you've already got a lot of little things in there that are going to take away that luster, that joy of seeing a new ship. I still like seeing the ships come in game. I still like seeing drooling over the pretty art and the other stuff. But yeah, I get where you're coming from, and you know, I'm a bit ambivalent when a new ship's released or announced. It's another ship. It's going to look great. It's going to do a job. But yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing here was obviously the Asgard. Not the Asgard. Sorry, the Ironclad was paused for a time, and they've picked that back up again. So that would explain why it probably wasn't ready for Invictus. They probably worked on something else instead and waited. But then it resumed, and then they talked about the kits and using the kits to essentially go around and detail everything out. So that still to me makes me sound like it's like at least 6 months away, towards the end of the year at the earliest, if not longer. And a lot of that ship is empty space because of that one big room. So it probably is an easy one to do. But also with the way they are chewing through the Perseus, I think they're fast tracking the shit out of that thing. Because John Cruz said at the one they did for the Beijing CitizenCon or the Shanghai, whatever it was, the Chinese CitizenCon, not CitizenCon, Bar Citizen. God damn it, I'm tired. They basically he basically said the Perseus is coming at IAE. Now you go look at this; it's essentially in grey box like the Ironclad. So does that mean the Ironclad's also coming at IAE, or does it also just mean they're turbocharging through because they essentially finished the Polaris and went straight into the Perseus?
Yeah, and in terms of the time frame, like it doesn't change the time frame they need to make the ships.
That's what I'm saying. If you do the math, we were told 18 months, but that's only going to be 12 months for the Perseus.
Yeah, but 18 months is go to woe. Like in terms of development time, it doesn't necessarily mean.
Yeah, I guess maybe they did have some stuff beforehand. Yeah, true.
So, in terms of the Ironclad being delayed, it's that same factor. It's the start and stop of development time. It's 18 months of development time, not 18 months of calendar time, and that's probably the more important way to remember that 18-month period. So.
Yeah,
give or take a month or two either side type thing.
And there's a similar type of thing there going on with the Paladin there on that line. For the already announced ships, the Anvil, Paladin, and Press 3 Grey Fox benefiting the recent work on the Asgard ship to send it up to creation. So it's kind of going through faster as well. Yeah. Maybe that's one of the reasons they're doing all these variants at the same time, because they can throw 3 or 4 of them out, and it picks up the speed. Because
you've also got the you've also got the triage and Medivac also in grey box. So you've got several ships there in the grey box stage that we've been looking at.
Something that me, Grim, and Trispone have been mulling over is this image here. We're still trying to work out whether that door is the back or the front of the ship. I think we're thinking it's aft now because of the 2 side rooms that appear to be to the left and the right, and they are at the back. No, I can't answer. Why is this not on silent?
Yeah. My memory from the original inspirational or viewership was entrances to those Apollo's med bays were on the sides, on the long side. But having them at the back makes sense. Especially if that's a customer entrance, because that would come, if it's at the back, because that would come in from the reception desk. Then you'd go into the appropriate ward. So
obviously tier 1 beds there, because it's the 1 bed takes up the entire space. That's gonna be interesting to see that. And you can kind of look at it compared to the I do have them here somewhere. Just give me a second to open this. Because we were going through this yesterday, the 3 of us. You kind of look here. Give me a second, opening it now. So this is the old schematic design. They've clearly got rid of the angled rooms like it was on the Polaris. They're gone now. It's more straight, but also because of that, you'll notice if I go back to the other image, it's definitely wider now. And I think that's a little bit reflected in this image as well. Give me 2 seconds. Got to open another one. This is the one from the blue silhouette video. Got to find the right one because it's like 12 different bloody things in here. That one. Open. So this one here. Now, I actually think you can kind of see it in this image already. Correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think you can kind of see that it is actually wider. And I think what I'm trying to say is, like, if they're doing ships and they're doing variants and stuff like that, by making it wider, what could they start to use this for, right? Because you've essentially got those 2 modular rooms, right?
Yeah.
So I start to think, well, what are other ships that can benefit from multiple modular rooms? And I haven't really nailed down exactly what it could be, but you could totally see there being at least another variant of the Apollo. Like, it just makes a lot of sense to me.
And when you're saying modular here, you're not talking about things that we can rip out and put in. stuff that the developers can
it can go both ways, right? But my thought process is like, essentially you can put in a combination of tier 3, tier 2, and tier 1. So what's another gameplay that would benefit from the ability to have different modules that go left and right? So like an obvious one is like a cargo module, right? But if you have cargo on one side of the ship, they want you to have it onto the other, right? So essentially it has to be equal weighted. So cargo doesn't really work unless it is just a cargo ship. And I just don't see them doing that because of the Connie. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
It wouldn't make sense to do another RSI.
Yeah. So I start to think, well, what is something that would work? And I haven't got there yet. I haven't had the like epiphany yet. So someone's saying AV's 421 saying drones. Yeah, drones would work. It does have that essential drone area for the Shepherd drone for the Apollo, so that makes a lot of sense. But again, I'm just putting this out there so people can start thinking for themselves, and maybe someone will come up with something really cool. But the way they're going at the moment, they're almost reutilizing everything they're creating, like multiple variants of something. So like a modular ship like this, it sounds like it's pretty unique too if you think about it. I can't really, besides the Caterpillar, I can't really think of anything that does multiple modules. Javelins maybe another one. The Carrack. There are a few, right? But they're not at this size. There's nothing. That's the smallest one that I can think of. Like the Redeemer's got one room, but not multiple rooms. So, yeah.
Yeah, look, it is interesting. It'll be nice to see what comes out, because when I first saw the Apollo, I love the design. To me, it was a cut down Connie, and I've always thought it was a cut down Connie, and I'm lost for words. Just for me, that is just an absolutely gorgeous ship.
Yeah, so this is the last time I saw it, and this is like a couple of years ago now. So this was back when the Santucci Eye came out, so it's like 2 years ago now. And that, so as you can see there, that makes me think it's the back room, because that's the room off the side of there, and that's the back. So
there you go. My memory was wrong.
Yeah.
I suppose the angled thing does make it kind of on the side, but
so it is still angled this way. It's just not angled
at the back.
At the back and the front. And that reception room is not a diamond anymore. It's probably just whoa. Okay, he's aged horribly. No, just kidding.
We all age horribly.
Yeah, we I don't even like looking at photos of myself when I'm younger. So yeah, it's not the same as it was. Like, and you can obviously see here that they've probably widened out into the tops and the bottoms a bit more. So I wonder if the ship has actually physically got wider. But also, if you go back to here, you can kind of see it. It looks like the wings essentially come out further. Now, I could be completely mistaken, but that's just kind of the way it's looking to me at the moment. So I'm interested to see where it goes. So yeah, have a think about it, Algared. I kind of put that to you and everyone else watching. What do you think that they could essentially do with an Apollo variant? It could go into I was looking up the word Apollo, right? And it talks about what was it? Prophecy and something. There's two words it mentions, and I think I went down the lines of like reconnaissance or e-warfare. So drones like Abe's mentioned would actually work with that as well. So something that's a bit more I don't know. Could you see RSI doing an e-warfare ship? Like essentially turning that into a combat ship?
As you've often said, RSI are the oldest ship company in the verse. They would have a finger in every.
Yeah.
So I could see them having a repair ship. I could see them having a scanning ship. I could see them having
info running would work as well. 2 data banks. Yeah, I can see that, LRS. So yeah, just have a think about it, guys, and see if I'm wrong. I just want to bounce it off people and see if I'm wrong, because like it just seems like a waste of a really, like, lots of people commented, Algared including, about how nice it looked. And usually when they do that leads into variants. Like, well, people might not like medical, so what else could we do? And being medical, like the other one I went to was a science ship. 2 science. things. Like I don't know, like I don't know, we don't have a science ship at this size.
No, we don't really have many science ships. So
you know, so it works.
A science ship would work.
Yeah, because we've got the Endeavour and we've got the Tanner, but we don't have this. Like we don't have a large and we don't have a medium. So it kind of works. Yeah, crafting works as well. The drones going out the top. Yeah, absolutely. Now we're cooking with gas, right? So now you see what I'm trying to say, right? So just start to have a think about it and start to think, what would it work for? And I'm pretty sure we could come up with a variant or two, but like it just made logical sense to me. So maybe 2 of those ships are Apollo variants. We've obviously got the Intrepid variants. Pretty sure we're going to be getting those. They seem like no-brainers, but yeah. No, the Mako's the camera one bowler. That's the streamer one.
Yeah, I always thought that the Apollo would be an ideal studio ship for streamers. You have one room that's actually your studio, your press room, and the other one's a recording room, like there's data packs and all the others. So, but I could see.
If I said Tanner, I meant to say Sen. Sorry, I said the wrong one. If that's the case, yeah, my bad.
But I could see also a science module, like medical and science. I thought went hand in hand. I could see it being used as a refuel ship or a repair ship or a build ship. So there's lots. It could even be a smaller science ship, a smaller explorer, taking on, doubling up on what the Apollo the Connie does, but being a smaller package.
It's quite funny. John Taves mentions that because that's where my brain went first. I went, could they actually take this and make a Phoenix remake? And then I realized it didn't have the whole vehicle thing under the bottom. But yeah, what about an RSI touring ship that just doesn't do the vehicle ship? Fuck off the vehicle ship completely and just do like a luxury, because that would work a lot better. You saw it. It was a lot better laid out. It's a lot simpler. You could just essentially turn the whole back area into one room, and it's just like a flying loft or something like that. I don't know how else to put that, so it's just got this luxury area that they hang out in, and the pilots just hang out the front, and the pilots have the toilets and that up the front. They don't need to go anywhere near the back at all, and you could just put an entry port at the front.
Given the fact that the Apollo had 2 washrooms plus its pilot's one.
Here, we'll go back to it right there. So you got your beds here, you got your toilets here. So the crew is completely cut off. You've got 2 washrooms, but imagine you just turn that into one big room. If you could somehow expand this to take, even if the vehicle is only an STV, right? But if you could somehow make it so that this airlock area holds a rover, you're cooking with gas, like literally. So yeah, if you can put a Lynx in there, you see where I'm going, right? A modified version of this would actually work as a Phoenix.
As a touring vehicle, yeah.
Yeah. Or no, a Phoenix rework is where I was going. But again, I think the thing is, like, one of the things I'm starting to realize now is they just they're not going to redo things anymore. They're just going to sell a new something. Why fix the Valkyrie or make, when you can sell an Asgard? And I get the feeling that that's where they're leaning towards, is just more money. They are clearly, so that's another episode I want to do too. They are clearly after money raising at the moment, but why are they raising money, right? And it's really obvious to me, and I think it'll be obvious to a lot of people that have been watching this for a long time. They need money for marketing to sell Squadron 42. That's why they're being so aggressive at the moment, so to speak. And yeah, it's a bit I don't know, like I don't know how I feel about that, right? Because it's a bit like stealing from Peter to pay Paul in a way. You're not doing well by us, but you're trying to raise money to sell it to other people. And good word of mouth is way better than bad word of mouth. So you're almost pissing people off, try and do something good. Do you know what I'm trying to say there?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. It's a bit sticky. Right, we got any questions, Algared? I haven't even looked. I did put the bot up.
We've got one,
and then the bot crashed. Ooh, it's gonna be one. It's gonna be one of those days, I think.
I hope we don't have to go through this. Look for questions in the stream.
I've got a sneaking suspicion that's what's going to happen.
No.
Paul did say he was having trouble with his bot as well. She's back up, but she's not pulling anything in yet, so we'll see. we'll see. Yeah, so no, it crashed again. Yep.
Yep.
He's doing it again. We're gonna have this issue today.
Nasty. So George Smith had a question. He says the monthly report talks about the transits. Given the wording, does that seem like it won't be completed until the end of the year?
I'll let you answer that one. I'm trying to fix this.
Yep, I hadn't read that part in the monthly report yet, so I would have to go back and have a look.
Definitely something that needs to be worked on, though, especially the problems we've all been having with elevators and stuff like that. So hopefully they can get on that. They do have those cool new trains. Yeah, the bot just keeps crashing on me today, so do that.
That means we're digging questions out of the chat, which is nasty. That's what it means.
Eagles, no. He's around, he might come fix it. Right. Yeah, so we're going to be doing this old school today. This might be a short stream.
I'll start scrolling, because it's going to time me out.
Okay, so Artemis TGM says, why fix the Prowler when you could just sell the new variant for 375 so players can't upgrade to it? Well, that was one of the things I was thinking about too, but I've got my eyes on you, that preview line. There were people saying that they reckon it was I think it was the pipeline people were speculating that it was a drop ship for the Acties or the Icties or whatever. But I think it's too small for that. You could fit maximum of 2 on it, and it requires a real fattening and rework. And how do you turn around in a suit on a ship that's so small? It's not very suited to that type of thing. And with the line, I've got my eyes on you, it makes me think the Prowler being low and stealthy, it already makes me think it would make a really good reconnaissance vessel, because as you know, Algared, if you can fly in kind of stealthy, it lands like a vehicle, and then you can drive in, essentially stalk in, you can also use it as a ground vehicle for reconnaissance. It's a 2-for-1 sale. That makes a lot of sense to me in a reconnaissance vehicle.
No, you're right. I do like that idea.
Yeah. I think I was watching Starjump's stream. Someone said call it the Growler. Growler's probably not the right word, but it does work from the Prowler Growler. But I think something like the Stalker would be kind of cool. I know we have the Aegis Stalker, but that's never stopped them before. Yeah.
Demonize has a question. Demonize 1989 has a question. With the extra attention given to the cockpit entry and exit of one of the unannounced ships mentioned in the monthly report, what are the chances that it is a Titan suit?
Well, they've already got an entry and exit animation for the Atlas, but it could be. Yeah, I wouldn't say no.
Enough rope to hang yourself.
What if it's a Titan suit that enters from the back, as an example? Absolutely.
Yep.
Could give you that one. So Dub Coyote says, with the release of the Polaris and the Idris, do we think that the wisdom of the earn down economy is clear? I think once we get some bigger, for me, it kind of came clear with the Reclaimer. But I think when you say some of the other big industrial ships come online, like say something like the Orion, I think it'll be, or even the Pioneer will do it as well. Because it's double folded too, because those big, like you put let's look at Pioneer versus Build, right? Build's going to be what, 3 to 4 people. Pioneer is literally an org level event, right? So that based on that value, you are buying a ship that you can use for multiple people. So you're getting better value just there. But by taking that, how many people in the org can then get a build underneath that they can have on their own? You see, so the benefit is not just to you when you buy a bigger ship; it's also to the org. But yeah, it's clear to me, and it's been clear to me for a really long time. I think it's really hard to fight the economics of that. But I think you would agree, Algared, it also comes the real big ticket thing there is personal preference. You might just not want to play in an org, but I don't think you can fight the value proposition unless, yeah.
Oh, and I always think when we're going big, you're still looking at what you can use. What's the best way If you know you're never going to be in an org, you don't necessarily buy the big org ship. If you know you're only going to play with 3 or 4 mates, and that's what your gameplay style is, you get the biggest ship that suits that group, because it's still going to be easy to earn down.
So I've just started the Q&A on YouTube that allows people to put questions on YouTube. Unfortunately, if you're on Twitch, you'll just have to put them in the old school way, and we'll try and read them out. Yeah, so I'll try and go back. Algared, can you just make sure there's no more on YouTube on your end?
I'm doing that now.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So Stimpack Steve has a question. If I melt a ship install credit and buy it back later using a buyback token, do I pay the same price as I purchased for, or if the ship has gone up, do I pay the higher price?
Yeah, if it's gone up, you pay the higher price.
Yeah.
So that's the advantage about locking in those prices. That's why we often recommend upgrades like the Gemini to an Endeavor, because it's $10. You just sit on it, and that price will never go up.
Yeah. So that you keep the upgrades, and that stops it being caught by a price increase.
Yep.
But if it's in melt, yes, it does go up.
And so instead of holding an entire ship, you can just hold the upgrade. That's basically
which is a lot cheaper to do. Yep. So it's stretching our dollars to do the things we want. That's
it. And then again, if you find you just don't like the ship when it comes out, you can just melt that upgrade and turn it back into credit and put it towards something else. Yeah, you're backing yourself for like $5-10 in most cases. So yeah. Citizen Ninja says, question, what are your thoughts on the only Wicklow Icky being the in-game exclusive? Elliot said that the Wicklow Icky is a stream chat yesterday. Yeah, I think it needed to be that, but also it makes a lot more sense now, because like from the get-go, I just thought it was a joke. I thought it was some kind of April Fool's Day the first time I saw it, because it literally went into the PTU the day before April Fool's Day. And I thought, is this a joke? This is so terrible. But even in the last couple of days, like I now went to Wicklow, it now has the Banu, it's got underneath the armor, you can see a Banu logo, but it's also got a Banu Lego, I guess it would be on the shin of the suit, so to speak, and like it folds down to the floor, and you can see the weapon name or translated Banu name on it. And like a build before that, it had the ATLS logos on it, so they're definitely working on the final texture of it.
Yeah.
Before the patch goes live.
Yeah, and look, I know when it first came out, we were completely canning it and banning it and piling on. But as a Banu take, or Wicklow's take on a Titan suit, a combat suit from Atlas, yeah, it makes sense. Taking the best bits of what they see and then making something else. So yeah, it fits in with what the Banu would do.
Yeah, well, it's icky, so it kind of fits in with it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's icky, isn't it? Yeah, it does feel rather icky.
Yeah, and so it feels like meme fits. The T is silent, by the way, guys. If you didn't know, the T is silent.
And when you get shot in the arms and legs, the suit does become rather icky. So.
Yeah, I've actually been in it and had NPCs take me out. So it is possible to get taken out if they get at you from the side or something like that. So it's not impervious, and I'd probably think you'd agree with this. It's probably going to be the worst combat Titan suit we've seen, and there's definitely going to be more, especially if they're giving it away for free, so to speak. It probably tells me, knowing that we're in June and the last ATLS was it September, October? It was September, wasn't it? The Atlas. Probably 2 months away, and we'll get another one. That makes sense to me. Like we get new starter ships every year. New Titan suits every year in September seems to be on track. So that's probably what I'm thinking is going to happen. And it might. So we might get another suit. It might not be combat straight away. A new frame. Is that what you would call it? A frame?
Yeah.
Something like that. All
right. So I think this might be the last of the questions. Oh no, we've got a couple more questions still in the YouTube. Bowler 999999999 says, do you think we will get an alien concept ship. We did not get a new concept at Invictus.
I think that's the push they're going for, is just no need for concept ships unless they're really big.
Yep.
Right. That you know, so if you think back, the last concept ship we got was the Paladin, and that even wasn't even that big. And I'm trying to think about the concept before that, and I think it was the Ironclad. I'd have to double check, but like, yeah, I think the Ironclad was the one before that. So that, and I think, I don't know if a lot of that's got to do with just them training new people. So they've kind of backed off on bigger ships again, until they can get them up to they can do it. But I heard from one of the, there was these guys I know that were at a Bar Citizen, and they had one of the people from CIG there, and he was literally stating every ship that he moved on to was bigger than the previous. So he started out on like a starter ship, and then he went up to like a medium ship, and then I think the last ship he worked on was essentially like the Asgard, and he's essentially been moving up to bigger and bigger things. I think that's what they're trying to do. They're getting up to the point where they can work on bigger ones, so they can knock some of those ones out of the backlog.
It makes sense, and it ties in with what Ben and John were saying. You can't, you don't really want to put someone on a massive big ship like the BMM when they get on when they just start, because it's just too big. So you build people up to the point where they can work on those bigger ships. So, but but I expect that we will get a new ship at Alien Week, just because it seems like it's the Prowler variant that's been teased.
Well, look, like I was saying about them raising funds, they've broken all these things about they said they were never going to do. They were never going to sell the F8. They were never going to sell the F7A, blah, blah, blah. And they got back. They've clearly been backed into a corner because they lost so many people. And I think it's the biggest mistake they ever made was not paying people, veterans. It's a massive problem I've seen in games before. Now, I don't know who's the person that's deciding not to pay people, but clearly that's just the decision they've gone with. I don't agree with it. I think holding veterans is really vital, because if you essentially lose veterans, how can someone, for example, right, that one veteran, say they've only got one, he is then has to be split his time to essentially train new people, and he gets burned out even faster, or she, right? And you get my whole point though, right? Like it's just even more burnout. And then that say they've all been there 5-6 years, those new people just don't have that experience. They're not going to have the same weight. It's going to literally take them 5 years to get back to where the other people were. That time is invaluable. You cannot get that back. And I think we're now seeing, by, like when they lost Paul Jones and the Banner Merchantman people, that's what I think we're seeing. Think about it, Algared. If you run back to where it was, the Banner Merchantman would be finished. They then would have moved on to other ships. You see where it goes, right? It's a chain effect. We would not have had all these variants and all this type of stuff because they would have been there.
I still think with the Banner Merchantman, part of the problem is there wasn't enough stuff to give them a library. They had to create everything from scratch. And that's an experience thing. Yes, all Banner ships are bespoke. Yes, I agree with you on that. But the Banner ship would be finished by now. That's not what I was trying to make. That's not the point I was trying to make. Take it to any other ship, right? And it would have been finished by now, right? The point I'm trying to say is they had that knowledge as veterans. They'd been there for however many years they've been there. You bring in a new person and they just don't have that knowledge. They have to learn it all on the go. It's like, I think the bigger thing is there was one of the shows they were talking about, and I think it was the transit system, the lifts and other things, and they were saying, there are problems, and the people who develop that stuff aren't here anymore, and that means that anyone trying to go in has to try and understand what was done, and that's really the issue you're raising.
I can use another line from Jurassic Park. There's about 2 million lines of code we've got to go through. Jurassic Park is a wonder today. But it's true. Like, they couldn't go through all the lines of code and figure out how they did it because it just takes too long. It's the same thing. If you lose someone who has that knowledge, like the coding you're talking about, that's lost. Now, do you have to rewrite that whole part of the engine because you can't figure it out? Or do you have to put someone on it that takes them months to figure it out because they don't know how it works because it was written by someone that didn't like lay or note out their code properly?
Or because the system they were using predates the nice streamlined system you've now got.
Yeah, or the person that understands how it's written is working on other things that are a higher priority.
Yep.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Like, where you need to retain those people. You need to try. Like, yes, it's going to cost you extra money, but it costs you so much more money to take a new person and bring them up to that level. And I think that's at the end of the day, it is better just to pay people for what they're worth than try and shortchange. And let's be honest, Algared, how long have you been a teacher?
Too long.
Do they pay you more now than they paid when you began?
Yeah.
Why do they do that, Algared? Older and wiser, more experience?
Mainly because you want to keep the experience.
It's blatantly obvious to anyone. I think I can take any job, any profession, construction work, whatever it is, people value experience. And for some reason, I don't know why, we'll never know those internal workings of CIG, but I think it's the biggest mistake they've ever made.
I think there's a bigger issue even with the idea of retaining staff, and that is when they've got the staff who are working on the code and developing the proprietary tech, when they leave, they take that knowledge with them. Now, even if they don't say, oh, this is how we do it, that knowledge is going to find its way into other code. So I think
let's read what Mackie Mouse just wrote in Twitch, because that is eye-opening as hell. So Mackie Mouse says, I wrote a program with 450k lines of code. I was the only one that could understand it. I quit after 5 years. So does that mean they had to get another person to come in and rewrite the entire program again? Or did they just live with how it was and could never upgrade it? And that's essentially what you're describing from CIG. And I 100% agree with you. How do they get things fixed if those people just don't work there anymore? And why did they move on in the first place? What did they just get? Like, it could be as simple as they just got sick of working there. 100% agree. 100% agree with that. Did someone piss them off? You'll never know, right? Did they ask for more pay and they said no? Like, again, we will never know. But you should be doing everything you can to retain those people, because there's just too much churn. It's too much.
Well, churn is churn is normal. Yeah. Turnover is normal in any job. But I just see the need to keep keep those guys who know the proprietary tech in-house to stop that tech being redeveloped or relearned by someone else.
So Mackie must just changed what he said. He says it was 15 years. That company would be screwed if it was the only one. Like, that whole company was built around him, essentially. It's crazy to me. Yeah. Right. Let's do a question. Now I can do this special thing that we're taking questions from YouTube. You won't see it if you're on Twitch, but there is now a question box below us, Algared, on YouTube. Can you see it? Is it on your screen? You're on YouTube, are you? Can you see a box underneath us now?
Underneath us.
Yep. What does it say? What does it say in the box?
Nothing.
No, it. Don't make me open the box.
Because I'm in me, not in you.
Okay.
Not in the Inforunners channel.
Hang on.
I have to use our channel.
Right. Well, if I go in, look, I'm going to show it so I'm going to show it so that the Twitch people can see it. Hold on. Just going into YouTube Studio, dashboard, content, live, this one, right? And then open this one, and I'll have to mute us though. Hey, look, it's us. Yeah, there's a question up there. See, up here.
Yeah, no, I don't have that.
Yeah, so it says, this is by Globleen asked. He says, do you own a ship that is considered bad value that you just love so much that you cannot seem to melt or upgrade it?
Yeah, lots.
Yeah.
Every fighter I have.
I think it's the Caterpillar for me. I've held on to that thing for so long. I've got a Pirate LTI edition, so it's just can't get those. They're pretty rare. But like, it's just, I've been sitting there waiting to know what they're going to do with the modules since it was announced. And it almost feels like they've just gone and made this ironclad and kind of replaced it. And I have to assume some of the functionality of that Caterpillar has been, I don't want to say stolen, but moved into the ironclad. Yeah, especially with the cargo element. So does that mean they're going to go back and make it kind of like a cargo? The cargo's a side grade of the Caterpillar, or are they going to, you know what I mean? You know, like I'm just sitting here waiting perpetually to know what those modules are going to do, and that's a disappointment for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the problems with the modularity of the Caterpillar is the same type of problem we have with the modularity of the Endeavour. And when we're talking to John and Ben, that problem of that modularity really came out in terms of development.
Yeah.
And I could see, you know, modularity on a Caterpillar would almost make John cringe as much as the modularity on the Endeavour.
Well, he said, didn't us, when we were at lunch, 220 variants.
That doesn't.
Yeah, like they'd have to, because to work with the current system, they have to build it as a full ship, and it swaps the ship over. It's not actual true modularity, and but it's just not a priority to build that system at the moment because they're mainly working on Squadron, and that's a really big thing to work on. And I am seriously hoping once Squadron gets out the door that we see a lot more people working on Star Citizen. And I think we are seeing that a lot this year too, because they're mainly polishing Squadron now, right? So that doesn't require as much new art. It requires fixes, but it doesn't mean that they're fully there all day, every day making content. They're able to do other stuff. And I think that's why I'm seeing a lot more stuff done within Star Citizen now.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Dob Cody had a question. I don't know if it was one that's been picked up, but his question was...
Where's this from?
YouTube. I'm looking at YouTube. I don't have Twitch up.
Okay,
with the release of the Polaris and Idris, do you think the wisdom of the earn down economy is clear? Yes.
Yeah, we did that one. Yeah.
All right.
Yep. All right. So the next one is by John Creeves. Selecting the question now. So John Chaves. How do you think Best in Show will turn out this year with all these new ships? Also, we're pushing the Gladiator this time, right? Yeah, I really want to push the Gladiator. And I know it's one of Algared's favorites, one of SA's favorites. It's the only ship that doesn't have a skin. I think it shows that it probably does need a bit of a rework though, and and I guarantee if we push it, it'll get the PTV treatment. Just a reminder, we're coming up on 3 years since they promised that next year would get a skin for it. We still don't have a skin for the PTV. They have sent out an email asking us to make a video for Ship Showdown. And I am still talking about Paul about what one we kind of want to put forward, but I think it's got to be the Gladiator. And I know Paul is talking about doing our own Ship Showdown. In you know, he'll kind of host it, and he wants me to be a judge or some shit. I don't know what he's planning there, but that's just what he told me.
Yeah. A true community run Ship Showdown.
Yeah. I think there clearly needs to be changes made to it. Like you and I have talked about this a lot. Like none of this let's make a tea cozy that's meant to represent a ship. Just put all the ships up for a vote and go through all of them in a vote sense, and just extend it out a little bit. So the first week could just be literally knocking them all down to 16. Only the top 16 from the first week go forward.
Yeah.
And just extend the whole thing by 1 week. Done. Problem solved.
I find the creativity aspect is a bit lame. Like you see the same.
Well, if you've got no creativity, it just throws it out the window.
It does.
It's not fair.
I feel myself in one of those. But then you get someone who makes a tea cozy for a freelancer.
Yeah.
And for the last 10 years, just
but it also allows
tea cozy turn up.
It also allows people to pad the vote.
Yeah.
Because they can just make stuff for ships that just they like. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you go look at the ones from last year, I can't even remember some of the ships, but there were people that would just take a photo of their ship in game and then just go into Photoshop and put some filters over the top and make it look kind of artistic. and that was accepted. And I think that's wrong. You know, like if I can, yeah. So again, it goes the other way. So yeah, I guess you could just take a screenshot and put a screenshot in, and if that's all they require. But we are in that lull time of year too, and they get severely padded. There are a lot of ships that would not make the cut if it was done at a regular time of year. Like if they did this around IAE or towards the end of the year, I'd be really interested to see the outcome of that vote, because I think it would be drastically different. But yeah, we are heading into that hardcore time of year, though, aren't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Rayo has a question.
Yep.
Rayo. CIG said they were going to remodel the rewards for the referral. Any news?
No.
No,
I think the last
more on what they said.
The last news is they said they're going to run the new program and the old program in parallel, because they had a lot of people complaining that were just short of certain things, and they felt like it was really unfair. So yeah, I got no problem with running two at the same time, as long as that new system benefits everyone and not just massive content creators. It's like it's got to be for the everyman more. I think more than content creators. You know, like 10 referrals is a shit ton, right? In my book, right? And I think you almost need something good every step of the way along the way, and it costs them nothing. They're digital items, you know. Like if they're giving you a Gladius after 10 referrals, then I don't know. I'd have to sit there and think about it. You know, maybe 5 is like an Ursa, you know, maybe 3 is an Atlas. Do you know what I mean? Like just small little things that cost them nothing, that don't cost a lot in game, but they're just nice to have. You know, that's kind of where I'd go with it. I'd really pad the bottom end a lot more. And again, they've got things like once they know you have the Atlas, why can't another one of them be a skin for the Atlas, or a skin for that Ursa, or a skin for that Gladius? You know what I mean? So you can start to pad it a lot more. You can, knowing they now have that, you can give them other things as incentive. So yeah.
Yep. Benjamin Frick says, no, not Benjamin Frick. Sorry, stop throwing, scat. It was from Shady Phase, and he said, why did they not add bomb racks for the Gladiator? It was a no-brainer. He's right. I was peeved. I actually bought the bomb racks just so I could check, and I was cheesed off that the bomb racks could not go on the Gladiator, because it would have actually helped the Gladiator fulfill one of the roles.
It does say what ships they go on before you buy it, though.
Yeah.
So,
but I did want to double check it.
Yeah, doesn't hurt to check.
And you can't double check it unless you actually have it to put on.
All right. So the next question from the Q&A, Artemis TGM says, a Reclaimer variant with the claw ripped off and the refinery gutted out, 2 times dual S8 turrets retrofitted with a gunboat heavy gunship, the Ravager. That would be. Would you like to see a variant? I think the Reclaimer's in a really slippery predicament, and one of the ideas we actually have for an episode is specifically on the Reclaimer. So I'm going to not comment too much on that, because I think you might see an episode in not too distant future from me and Algared on that.
I think if I made a variant of the Reclaimer on the lines that was just suggested, I wouldn't call it the Ravager, I'd call it the Theater, because it would blow thick ships up for the Reclaimer to go and beat. Just me being.
Actually, do you know what could visually in my head looks kind of cool? I'm just going to say this because it just came into my head. You know how it's kind of like a giant bug? And you know how like bugs, like wasps and stuff, they move their abdomen and they kind of like stab things? You know how they kind of do that? So imagine the abdomen comes down and it's a giant underground miner. Because the back comes down and it just like it's actually like a massive bigger thing that goes into the ground and starts mining. I reckon that could look really cool if it was done right. But almost like a biological ship in a way, but fully mechanical. Yeah,
a massive weapon that pulls under and faces forward, and then.
Oh yeah, that could work as well. Yeah, I just like the whole idea of it like stinging the planet type of thing, and then you got that you could see the laser going under the ground or something like that, and it's like it just looks like this giant bug. Yeah, I don't know. There's no other ship that really looks like the Reclaimer, so it's the only one that could pull it off. Yeah,
looks cool, but that would be a nightmare to have, and it'd be very easy to Oh, he's charging up the fire. Move away.
Yeah. From a combat perspective, it doesn't work too well. So yeah.
But yeah, it'd be cool. But yeah.
Nice to see Stimpack Steve. He's got a question here. Stimpack Steve was the one that lent me his laptop when I was in the UK last year. Very nice of him. He says, anyone notice that the pads on the combat suit shoulders? Yes, we did. We actually talked about it in our little impressions video we did this week. 3 on one side and 4 on the other. The hex-shaped ones, it seems that they are to do with anti-storm and anti-radiation. I thought the hexagons were armor. He's saying they're anti-storm and anti-radiation. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard anything about that. So if you want to link me, Stimpack, where you think where your thoughts on that are, or where you found that from, I'd happily hear you out. But I instantly thought of armor. Didn't you, Algared? Being a combat variant with the armor?
No, we both thought. I remember we both saw it and we both went, "Oh, armor."
Yeah.
And then it was it's even the fact that it was odd made us wonder whether it was procedurally generated. Is terms we want. Because
if you can
number of pads, and
if you can scatter over the surface of a ship procedurally generated, then you can also shoot it off, which is what we think armor is going to end up being. It's essentially it's stronger than a shield, but once it's gone, it can't come back. Much like ballistics, once you run out of ammo, you're stuffed.
So you'd want to, you'd want to either go back to port or back to wherever a safe spot, and reglue your armor shields on or your heat shields on type thing. But yeah.
You got another question there, or do you want me to do another one?
I'm out of questions, I believe.
Well, I've only got
our chat.
I've only got 4 left. So
yep.
Get some more in if you want to, please, guys. Right. So this is from Riddick. He says, do you believe the Atlas mechs are lazily designed, especially with the weapon platform version? Should have, oh god, it closed as I was doing it. Should have been a new bespoke weapon integrated into the design. So that's, again, it's a sign of those times where they've made one Atlas and then they've tried to use it as many times as they possibly can because they just don't have the staff at the moment. They're trying to train everyone up. So, but this is creating a problem of their own making by not retaining veterans. That's it. Kind of goes back to what we said before.
In terms of the Atlas variant and the Icky, that fits. It fits as being a Banu variation of that Atlas platform to service their needs. And the Banu take what they think is best and apply it. Doesn't necessarily mean it is the best. It's just what they think. So,
they've probably done that because they really like the Atlas because they do a lot of cargo stuff. So it's easier for them to have an Atlas that they can turn into a weapon rather than having a whole separate suit they've got to carry around.
Yep.
Yep.
Sounds good to me.
Yep. Because it looks like eventually, and we do talk about this in the ICTY impressions guide, it looks like eventually it's going to be a fully modular suit. You want a salvage hand, you just put a salvage hand on. You want to put a tractor beam, you put a tractor beam on. You want to put a backpack on that carries a box, you do that. Oh no, I don't want the box. I want to jump pack, or I want to EVA into space. Because again, you look at the image from Astro Armada, there is clearly an Atlas in that image from 2020. And it's salvaging. Now, if you're salvaging, that's fine, but it means you need an EVA pack on the suit. You can still have your mask and all that on. You don't need the exterior, right? But you definitely need an EVA backpack. And I think that's what that'll be. And then you just put a salvage hand on, and then you can salvage.
Yep.
And that'll work. That'll work really well on the Reclaimer too.
Yeah. In terms of those pads, there's a couple of people in YouTube chat. Talking about, didn't they talk about it in one of their CIG vids when they were talking about the ASD's transport? Those plates on the shuttles at the new ASD locations, and so.
No, the 2 different plates. So they're talking about the plates on the new shuttles to stop from the distortion and stuff. But then he was talking about the plates on the shoulders of the Icky. Different plates.
I think they're saying they look similar. But
okay, I will try and bring out the video and have a look. But I do not remember it being that way. And I have seen that shuttle in game.
But that's what they were picking up, I think. So
there are already
while you're doing
people.
that,
There are also already people picking up on the problems I had in what do you call it? Where you got to take off your clothing to get through the doors. It's really, really annoying. So yeah, it's really hard to see because it's quite a dark image. But yes, there is technically what looks like to be large hexagons, but I don't think they're the same, because the other thing is they have sticks sticking out of them, where the other ones are a stick that stick off the shoulder and the plate is on top of that. They're completely flat. They're just stuck out. So
I thought there were little kind of spikes on those ones on the mech. Well, looking back, I could have just been remembering it wrong.
You are remembering it wrong, but I can pull it up for you if you want. Oh, I'll go into our video that we did on it. That's the only place I can think of where it would be. Where was it? So yeah, there you go. See, completely flat.
I can't see that because it's on small screen. Because remember, I don't get.
Yep, that's cool. But
when I'm looking at the.
Well, you should. It's completely flat. There's no sticks. The sticks are underneath, not on the top. And then if I go back to this one, you can clearly see the sticks are on top. So they're not the same. Similar look, but and a completely different size difference and stuff like that. So I'll have to, yeah.
Ben Frick does have a question. It doesn't appear to be on
he's already asked it. It's there on the list. Is it thoughts on the new Prowler variant? Is that what he asked?
No. His question was what the ships talked about in the monthly report. Which one excites you the most?
None of them, if they're just going to be a side grade. Perseus, Ironclad, they're obviously going to be exciting. And Paladin. What about you, Algared?
The one on the monthly report that probably most excites me is the Apollo.
Yep.
Of those ships they talked about. Because I like the Apollo.
Okay, select question. Henrik says, with the massive in-game price hikes in military ships, like the A2, do you think selling your fighters will become outdated? No. Because so many people, you can still use a lot of upgrades to get them for cheaper. Maybe right down towards the end, yeah, possibly. But again, even with the price increases, they are still better value. Because they how do I put this? Let's look at the Vulture versus the Reclaimer. That's a good one that Algared knows about. 2.5 Vultures of cargo.
For the same price.
Yeah, for this, you literally need 16 Vultures to equal the same cargo as the Reclaimer, but only 2.5 of them in price. Both ships are released. Prices shouldn't be going up. There's an example.
And yes, the Reclaimer is a multi-crew ship, but you can very easily use the Reclaimer solo.
You've been doing that
all week.
Yeah, I've been
using it all week. And yes, it is frustrating to keep swapping seats, but it's not a massive. It just adds a little bit more time, but you can and even it twice.
Even if you're at the same price point, let's look at say around the $250 mark. Why would you get an Ares Inferno when you can get a Mercury Star Runner or a Corsair or a Connie?
The other thing is I was using the Vulture to salvage. So I started off using the Vulture, great. But the cargo hold was so small, you had to make multiple trips. The Reclaimer, I can do a whole ship in one hit, and I can strip all the weapons off and put them in the cargo hold and hold them. It's just I can get more quicker with Reclaimer than I can in the Vulture.
Yeah.
So, and I earn twice as much.
Yeah.
In the Reclaimer than the Vulture. So, to me, that would reconfirm the sell your fighters idea, because I can earn more in the Reclaimer and then buy the smaller things down the track. Now, if you're not into salvage, if you hate salvage, well, find another ship that does that. That fits your size and fits what you can do. Now, am I in danger of others come, other players coming and unleashing hell on me and wrecking my gameplay. Yeah, sure, because I'm alone. Would I be better off with players? Yeah.
So this I want to talk about because this is way cooler than what we were just talking about. Oh, wrong thing. I went to the wrong screen. Hang on, give me a second. This is the new sneak peek. And it says reborn with purpose. What do you think that is, Algared?
An angry man wearing an insect helmet.
Definitely a ship from below, but my brain just from the colors went to Cerulean, but I could be wrong. I really need to go look that up. Reborn with purpose. Anyone in chat? I'd have to close the chat to see the Q&A to see what it is. I really hate that, how you can't have a Q&A open and that at the same time. It's really aggravating. Yeah, is anyone in chat? Can you see it, Algared?
That'd be my view.
Anyone in YouTube saying what they think it is, Algared?
Is that the Prowler variant?
No, that's the one
Hacking
from last week.
EW.
It's definitely some kind of alien ship. Reborn with purpose. And it's done as a quote. It's not what they normally do. Reborn with purpose. Looks like the bottom of the Talon. I was thinking Talon or Cerulean, but it's hard to tell from, like, I don't know those ships too well.
I would have to go and have a battle of the ships, but
I think we can safely say that it's another variant from the word reborn. Which is again disappointing.
That depends on what it does.
Up to you, but I'd rather new ships than
yep, I know. I know you're looking at the I want something, a brand new ship and a brand new frame and a brand new everything else. But yeah, it's a 6 of one, half a dozen of another.
There's not a lot of replies there that only really just dropped in the last 15 minutes. Yeah, I'll have to stay on that one for a little bit. But yeah. Right.
Divine grab plates from Prowler. Someone saying. Definitely looks
well, it could
Byron Jennings says definitely looks
it literally could just be another variant of the Prowler. As I said, two variants of the Prowler makes a lot of sense. Could be. It is. Wait, I'm not gonna be able to do it on screen. Oh wait, maybe I can. Hang on. If I go back to so this is the guy that posted it. Did he also post last week's? No, of course he didn't. That would make sense, wouldn't it? All right, it'll be here somewhere. Here we go. Right. Because that, now you flick between the two, they are nothing alike. Yeah, so it could be. So I can see where they're saying grab plate. So that, what if it's just the same ship? Because look, there's the edge. Yeah, could it? Because look, there's also red light coming down up here, and then all of a sudden there's the red light. Is it just the same ship, slightly just slightly up a bit more?
Yeah, I know. Slightly different position.
And are they just taken from a video? They've just taken different frames from a video. You know what I mean? Like when I flick backwards and forwards, you can even see the same colors in the peripheral. There's no orange down here. That you think that would be a bit of orange. Yeah, there's no orange. So I think it is another Prowler variant. I'd have to have a look underneath the Prowler again. It's the top of the grab one. At the bottom right. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's the top of the grab there. Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Interesting. All right, well, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it could just be a second Prowler variant. It could be the same ship. We'll have to wait and see. Reborn with purpose. Interesting. That almost looks like a tractor beam in a weird way to me.
Yeah, possible.
I wonder if,
as I always say, enough rope to hang ourselves.
I wonder if what Pipeline found, because they found something that they thought was like a dropship variant, drop Titan suits, and it mentioned a tractor beam. What if it was not this one they found, but this one?
Possible.
Because how would you do a dropship, Algared, for Titan suits if you use the Prowler? And the only thing I can think of is you essentially pick them up off the ground and just hold them and fly in and then just drop them off. And if they want to be picked up again while they're fighting, you could literally just fly over the top, use a remote camera tractor beam to pick them back up and fly off again. And the guy's just essentially sit in the suit the whole time.
Yep, I was thinking you'd have
easiest way to do it.
You'd rip out the guts of a Prowler. You'd put the suit recharge points in the ship itself.
Well, and I don't think you can do that on a Prowler because it's too small. Because like you've got to enter from the.
I know you've said that.
Yeah, you got to enter from the front. Then you've got to have some kind of mechanism that turns them around so they can then step out. Or it depends on how many suits the thing is going to carry. Now, if a Prowler's carrying 8 troops, you probably want your suit to carry 2 at least. But I could see just ripping up the guts, putting the suits in the middle of the ship, and just walk out the doors. I just thought a way you could do it,
back in?
If you actually had it so that they were hanging via tractor beams and they were both facing towards the front of the ship, you could actually have seats that you get off, get in, and then they kind of drop down. You could do it that way technically, but that you'd be right on the extreme. You would have to technically widen the ship just a little bit for the pilots to get on.
Why wouldn't you just leave them side on and have the seats at the front and just walk out the door, out the airlock door?
Because the ship's too thin. Well, because you remember there's guns on the ICTY, that actually makes it a lot wider. Even when the arms go down, it's still a lot wider. It makes it almost not quite twice as wide as it is, but it makes it a lot wider. Yeah.
But I wouldn't think that Avaran would be using icky suits. But that's just me.
Yeah, but being the only one that's available.
Well, no, the claiming should be.
But again, if you're going to make a drop ship for Titan suits, it's going to do all Titan suits. It's not just going to do one.
The Retaliator should be able to do a Titan suit because it's got the recharge station.
So Zethus asked, what are the dates for Alien Week? Is the 12th of July as First Contact Day? But also on ISC Week, essentially Disco Lando said 2 weeks from now, the patch. And if the patch is coming out in 2 weeks' time, generally that's going to be for Alien Week. So I think Alien Week's been knocked back a
2
week.
weeks' time.
I thought it was going to be next week, but I think it'll be the week after based on what he said today.
I thought the Alien Week traditionally started at the beginning of First Contact.
Could be actually. Now you mention it, and then they show off the new ship at the week after. Yeah, it could be. Absolutely.
So they show off a new ship at the end of Alien Week. Yeah, that would work.
Possibly. We'll have to wait and see.
So,
all right, we're getting down to the last 3 questions now. So if you want to get some more questions in, please feel free. Cody Fox, my question is also, so many people have been eagerly waiting for the Apollo and the Galaxy. Do you think either of those ships has real relevance in game as it is right now? I think you kind of need the Apollo because of they're clearly trying to do base building, and then ground combat comes after that, and you really do need a lot better medical facilities to pull off the ground gameplay. I think that's why the Apollo is coming. It's a cart horse problem. As for the Galaxy, probably the most interesting thing on that is obviously the refining. They did talk about that in the Chinese Bar Citizen, but also the base building element of it. But I don't think the base building is key, knowing that the build is the thing. So they're working on it. I just
The
don't
other
know the
thing,
priority order of why.
the other thing to remember with the variant, which the Galaxy has, is that the variants will never be as good as the dedicated, and that was one of the things we were told, because they deliberately make it so it can do it, but it's not as.
And they said a variant would be above a module, so the build will always be better than the Galaxy. So essentially, it goes bespoke, variant, and then modular.
Yep. And so the build being the one that's built specifically for that is going to be better than the Galaxy inbuilt.
I wonder if that works the same with, say, the Prospector and the Fortune. Will the Vulture always be better than the variant? And I know they don't consider it a variant; they consider it a whole new ship. So yeah, maybe that's how they get around that. Right, down to the last 2 questions now. This is going to be a very short stream, Algared. The question. Right, John Cave says, any chance of you guys redoing the command and control where you attack and then defend the Polaris now that it's out? I would probably have to put that to SA and Drazen. But yeah, we could probably look at it again, but would just don't want to redo things so quickly. But I'll ask them, see what they say. It's just hard to get us together because I've generally got to get up at 4 a.m. to pull those off. I don't get enough sleep as it is. So yeah. No. What about you, Algared? Do you think that changes much of how the Polaris worked? I kind of sit there and think about it now. It really hasn't changed my thoughts on it too much. You know, I kind of knew how it was going to be beforehand. I think it's more likely the changes they make in the future, like changing, like the announcements about how torpedoes work now, that they're going to have to fire a 1.5 kilometers before they even activate. So no more shock, like because people were just running up the asses of Idrises and firing like 2 salvage, like 8 torpedoes, and the entire Idris was gone.
Yep.
That's why they've removed that.
When I look at the torpedo variant of Idris, and the fact that the ship-to-ship weapon turret, the BC-7 turret, is a ballistic cannon. The ballistic cannon would be ideal for targeting the point defense turrets. Once you get rid of those, your torpedoes will careen into anything. So to me, that seems to make a perfect sense, a perfect turret for that variant, because a couple of torpedoes. I was hearing people say a couple for the Hunt the Polaris mission, a couple of torpedoes from the Idris, and that thing's gone, just doesn't survive. But you've got to get past the PDCs.
Yeah. I think PDCs was something we probably didn't really consider back then. But that would only be the only thing, so it would just be an extra layer. Monster Avery kind of stated this. He said most might also be a new variant of the Titan suits, a Tavaran version with them to go along with the new Tavaran Titan dropper. I wonder if that's why we're all getting the Atlas for free, because there's actually a proper Titan suit coming. I did kind of say in September, but what if it's coming earlier than that? And what if it's an alien one? What if it is a Tavaran suit?
And Tavaran would be cool because they are popular.
That'd be called the Emu. Like a big bird suit. That'd be funny as. And you just
the Emu.
Then I've got a reason to dress Algared up as a mascot. No.
Cassowary.
Oh yes, that's a real. Oh god. And if you want to know about a deadly thing, look up the cassowary. That's a bird here in Australia, and it is. If you thought of an emu that has like a massive mohawk bone on its forehead, and it does
emu
the whole
on steroids.
What's the Pachyosaurus? The Pachyosaurus or the Friatuck in Jurassic Park? Same thing. It's a bit like that, but in bird form, and it just literally, it kills more people here than almost anything else every year.
What does
It's the deadliest thing in Australia.
Yeah. Polo, and I can't read his name because it's purple, but cassowaries haunt my nightmares.
Yeah. Oh man, it's definitely bring him.
Yeah, very colourful. Big blue crest and all the rest of it, but they are quite.
So this is what they look like. So this
aggro.
Is this photo here.
Oh, it's not a big blue crest. There you go. It's
no,
neck.
No, it's next to the crest. But look at that. Look at that bone on that forehead. That's a mohawk and a half. And it's not thin, but it's, you know, it's essentially like a bony axe. So it's blunt force trauma. You die from blunt force trauma because it's so thin and hard. It just, you get hit with that and it just breaks your bones. It goes straight through you.
I believe its claws aren't much fun.
And it's got claws like a raptor. It's halfway between a Pachyosaurus and a raptor, essentially.
Yeah, it's nasty.
Yeah, it's.
So.
See if I can find a photo.
Yeah, look, and Henrik says Tavaran gliding stealth suit, and that would tie in with.
Yeah, that's a Cassowari's. So you can see a person's hand, and the claw is as long as a hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, 3 daggers on its feet, nasty.
Yeah. So yeah, crazy.
Yep. That's the one that tries to. I'm glad we didn't go to war against them.
Yep, that's true.
Better wiped us out. Emus just, we just couldn't kill them.
Yeah,
that thing, it would have wiped us out.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, the people that die are usually tourists because go, oh, what is such a beautiful bird. They're just dead. That's a dodo. Yeah, gone.
Yep.
So yeah,
we go, oh crap, Cassowary.
They just walk up and go, oh, another stupid American.
I'll just close that door again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately, they unlike the
well, it's not like
can't open doors.
It's not like a snake or something like that. Like a snake, people go, oh, that's deadly. A spider, oh, that's deadly. Oh, a beautiful bird. And that's why more people die, because it doesn't look deadly. It looks pretty. It looks exotic and friendly. It is not. It is all... And I think it's the males that are blue like this. The female, and also the horn. The females don't have that. It's almost like a reindeer versus a deer versus, you know, the females don't have the horns, just the males do. It's the same type of thing. So yeah, crazy.
Yep.
All right. What are we up to? Question was this one. Thoughts on the new Prowler variant? I think we kind of went over that.
I think we've kind of done that.
Yeah. So I just real quick, I think it's probably a reconnaissance variant. It makes a lot of sense. I kind of talked about this earlier. The Prowler has always kind of been able to be almost vehicle-like. When it gets down low, it can go across the surface. So having a reconnaissance ship that can be both a vehicle and a ship makes a lot of sense. It really, really does. It's a so you can have one person operating the scanner and doing all the scans, and the other person just concentrating on flying and getting in there, getting the information. Makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah. What was the lore name of the ship from last week?
It was the Jackal.
The Jackal.
Heavy fighter.
Where the Jackal also works as a stealth, as a reconnaissance ship as well. So yeah. Or maybe this one's the oh shit. What did I do with it? I must have closed it. Yeah, maybe that one's the thing I went out of. The 2-person heavy fighter like one.
Yeah, look, it could have a you know, one of the things we've got to remember with the fiction is sometimes it is like serialized fiction is in-game stories, and the story on Instrument of Surrender is an in-game story, which if it was modern literature, we'd call it historical fiction. So it uses historical facts from a game, but weaves them into fiction. So it's not an historical account. It's a fictional account. Drawing on things. But yeah, it's not all that's in those stories is necessarily accurate. Is the other thing to remember. So, but yeah.
Interesting. Someone linked me a picture here. I'm just going to open this. Thank you, whoever linked that. It was Dragon Wolf. Thank you, Dragon Wolf. It kind of shows it up close. Yeah, this is definitely on the Prowler bottom. I'm just opening it. Give me a minute. So you can kind of see it up here. That is what we're seeing in the picture. It's just above those 2 front grab discs. It's there.
So last week's was down a bit further. This one's a bit
higher. So that the last week's was down back here. This one is up here. And it's obviously a different color. So I reckon, as I was predicting, it's probably a second Prowler variant, which as I said, they tend to be doing 2 variants of attack. And at the moment, unless they do another, why you not zoom in, huh? I'm trying to zoom in. Why you not let me zoom in? It's really weird. Why is it not? Normally I can just scroll. Is it doing that? Oh yeah, I can't zoom in on that one, but the other one I can't. Nope. Can't do it on that one either. What's going on? Must be something wrong with my browser today. Anyway, so yeah, yeah, what did I say? Unless they do a second variant of the Fortune or something like that. But at the moment, we've only ever seen one variant of utility ships, because there's obviously just not as much utility as there is kind of attack craft. So yeah. No, I'm interested to see it, but let's be honest, wouldn't you have rather seen more new Tavaran ships, Algared, than...
I'd love to see more new Tavaran ships. Like, you look at that story, even that fiction story. We've got a heavy fighter, we've got the destroyer or the capital ship. We've also got the small drop ship. So that's 3 ships we know of from a Tavaran.
Yeah.
Then we've got the other story, letters. I think it was Letters from Home.
Yeah.
Where they've got the Tavaran in Brennan, not Brennan, in
Yeah.
their stuff. Then we've got the story of the Tavaran being hunted by the bounty hunter and their ships. Now, whether they're using these ships or variants is another thing. But yeah, there's a whole host of things that I'd love to see fleshed out for the Tavaran.
Hopefully with time. Yeah, hopefully with time.
I'd put things like Letters from Home or Far From Home, where we've got the guy who leaves the UE because of the negativity he feels and goes to Brunner, and then actually comes back to the UE because he found they were too. He didn't feel they were Tavaran enough. He thought they had gone too far negative and weren't following Rajora. That is more a historical account rather than a fictional story.
Well, based on you knowing a lot more about the Tavaran stuff than me, does your thoughts say these are 2 separate ships or one?
Well, Ion News says E-War Fairy scout ship. Reborn with purpose. If it's a scout ship, it's still got purpose. So it could be the same ship. Could they be doing 2 ships? Yeah. Could they be doing a drop ship? Yeah. Could they be doing... It's...
What? So what you reckon it was a Prowler rework?
Yeah. It's certainly... I certainly think it's a Prowler rework, but what they're doing is it just another picture of the same ship, or is it a second ship and sticks of one, half a dozen of another?
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Or just I don't want to take the rope and hang myself.
Yeah,
I do that too often.
Yeah, well, I'm just asking your gut feeling. That's all, you know.
So I'll hedge my bet.
Okay, well, let me put it another way. What do you hope it is?
Well, I'd like to hope it was a scout, proper, because that would say scanning was coming.
And do you hope it's 1 ship or 2?
For the sake of my future wallet, 1 ship.
That's the best answer ever. If for the sake of my wallet, I hope it's only 1. Because I know I know you're going to buy it. Yeah, I know you do.
And you also know that it's going to be the same price as the Prowler, which
around that as well. Well, I'll ask you that. Like we were saying this, I reckon if it's a reconnaissance ship, it's a reason to make it cheaper. And I think if I sit there and said it was 2 ships, I would hope one was more expensive and one was less expensive.
Well, let's say if you make a reconnaissance ship and you don't need a squad, and you take out all the seats,
the
drop seats that are for heavy armored crew, and you fill it with components, then that gives you reason to hopefully drop the price horrendously because it's so overpriced. And the pricing game showed it. I still remember Paul's almost heart attack.
Yeah, what was it? The It's
It
the
was, I think it was the
Vanguard.
Prowler, wasn't it?
It's the Vanguard. Oh, what the hell was the dropship that's, I'm just forgetting the name. The Vanguard dropship variant that was made, and it's the Hoplite. The Hoplite was more expensive in game than the Prowler, and it was roughly half the price.
Yeah, and we told that to Paul, and he was like, "No, no, no, no.
They wouldn't do that to
And
me."
when he looked at,
He literally said that. They wouldn't do that to me.
They wouldn't do that to me.
And
And he
he's
looked
like,
and he was like,
"Oh shit!" Still makes me smile every time I think about it. Then
it makes me smile when I think of it as well. But yeah, it was that type of that thing, and that kind of really hinted at the price the Prowler should have been.
Yeah,
should have been a lot less, and we just paid the military tax and the extra seats and whatever else they put on, and it was cool.
I do think the reconnaissance thing really works. Like really, really well, and I hope that's what it is. If it is a whole second variant, and it's also possibly a dropship thing, wouldn't surprise me knowing the ICTI's coming.
Look, I could even see if you were doing one where you stripped up the seats. So you just made it 2 variants. Heavy fighter, heavy gunship could be one which you use without needing to drop seats.
Yeah.
And a reconnaissance variant, which doesn't have the same armor. It replaces those with scanners and stuff, and that would be 2 variants that could be theoretically cheaper.
Yeah, but on the note of a Tavaran Titan suit, they work really well for that too, because they are very combat focused race.
Yep, anything with combat suits are Tavaran, because that's what they were. So.
And those 5 unannounced ships, I'm pretty sure one of them is going to be the Aegis Hermes that was found in the code. And whether it's a Titan suit or a ship, I think that would have to be one of them. There's a name there for the Hermes.
Yeah.
So, when we see that, who knows? What's the other one? RSI Comet. It's another one that they said they'll see this year. So that's possibly one of the other unannounced ones. John Crew technically did announce it, but they didn't actually say what it was. They just gave us a name. So it's still,
well,
I'd probably consider that unannounced.
I suppose in the same sense you could talk about the concept they did for the Kruger fighter. They've kind of talked about it, but they haven't really said it's 100% coming. They've just been concepting.
Yeah.
The RSI heavy fighter, or another fighter based on the Mantis, is another one they've kind of talked about, but haven't really said yes, it is 100%. Type of stuff they've been concepting.
Yeah. They're probably a little bit further away, if I'm completely honest, but yeah, there's still ones to keep thinking about.
Do they count them as being announced, or are they, because they've only kind of said, or are they? Yeah, because they haven't actually given those a name either.
Yeah, I do want to bring this up because I do actually think now that it's going free to play, or it's going to be a free vehicle, I actually wonder if this was CIG having a dig at us. So Ikti in Tagalog, now Tagalog is a Filipino language, right? Ikti means to whine or grumble. So because we were bitching and complaining so much, they named it the Ikti, made that a part of the Banu language, and then, just to insult us.
Oh, if they have a dig, look, why not?
So, yeah, that was...
we do whinge a lot, so yeah. What's the phrase? The entitlement is strong with this lot.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah. I can see what they
Fortunately, it's true.
Yeah. I'm just trying to remember, go back and find it between all these discussions. Here we go. I think this is what it was. Yeah. So this is it. So I'm going back through discussions with Fishbone and Grim, right? We have a group chat that we just chuckle things in, speculate, and go crapsly bananas on, right? And what I did was I actually asked Grok, this is when it happened. I said, I went to Grok AI and I said, based on the name, based on RSI's other ships, what do you think the RSI meteor could be? And this was the best answer it came back with. Courier Scout, small single pilot ship for rapid courier missions, data, small cargo, or passengers, light exploration and scouting. Now that tells me, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Algared, but that's an advanced starter by RSI. Now they don't have that.
Oh.
And it's somewhat similar to the Intrepid in that type of vein, you know, and the Avenger and stuff like that. So that makes a lot of sense to me. But then if it goes into data and small cargo and passengers, I can see that as well. I can see all of that.
You look at the cutter. You know, the cutter basically is a small transport.
Yep.
Small cargo.
Yep.
It's got the scout, which is exploration and scouting. You've got the medical. No, we don't have a medical version, but you get what I'm saying. It's got it basically ticks off those boxes. So yeah.
I just love how the things that this AI came back with, though, that really impressed me. Right, so things like it came back with, like, talking about the M50, high speed maneuverability, rivaling racing ships like the M50, and then little things like likely price between $60 to $100. That's bang on for an advanced starter. It was just, it's like I was talking to myself. That's what blew my mind. Like it's like it knew me and it was telling me what I wanted to hear in a weird way. Like, I never thought of it though as a data runner or a courier, but I was just curious to know what Grok would say. And I think I'm going to do that a lot more now. I'm going to go back and ask it things like, you know, what's this based on this name? But we don't often get the name before we get the ship. So I think I could do the same thing again. Well, maybe I should do that. I probably won't do it live. That's what I was thinking. I'll go do it for the Hermes and see what it says. Because it's really, because the other thing is, like, I'm not showing you everything, but literally, if I kind of go back, it literally did 3 pages of context before it got to the final thing. So it, like, and they're massive walls of text. Like, I'll just look like this. That's one of them, and it actually, like, breaks down, and it goes through all the little things like, could it be a gun? Because I literally said, could it sort of be a gunship like the meteor, like a meteor strike? Because that's where my brain was going, and it said possibly and all that type of stuff, and then I said, but, you know, at the end of the discussion, I basically said, what do you think is most likely? And it went back to its original pitch, and its original pitch was this.
I do like Stimpack Steve's comment about the FD name, and he said, CRG, do you have a British sense of humour?
That Chat GPT, was it? Not Groot. I can't remember. I used one of them. I used an AI, sorry, Jenny TV. Maybe I did use Chat GPT. I can't quite remember, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's just very clever to me. It was able to, you know, look up the website, understand the ships I was talking about, and just kind of go through everything and give me a really articulated answer. It was really good. I was very, very impressed. And I don't know about you, Algared, but that sounds kind of cool as a starter ship to me.
I've got to admit, it does sound pretty good.
So maybe we aren't getting Intrepid variants. Maybe it's just the one Intrepid and that's it. That could be the other thing.
Intrepid and the RSI variant.
Yeah. And maybe we get an RSI starter ship this year, and then maybe we get other Intrepids down the line. Because that did happen with the Pisces too, didn't it? The Pisces C&R was separated out for quite a bit before they came back around to it. And I think that had a little bit to do with the gameplay of Medical.
Yep.
So the last question I think we got here is, do you wait here, click on it. Yeah, hold on, sorry. Let's do this question. Socially Confused says, do you guys consider a sandbox activity to be, do you consider the 4.2 sandbox activity to be exploration like they stated in the ISC? There is a small exploration element to it, but it's really just finding where you have to go. Once you get there, it's all combat. It's really combat focused, especially the 2 places I've been in it. The first one is essentially go, and it doesn't matter. It's not a solo activity because someone has to change their gear, right? You've got to take all your gear off and put a suit on, and you can't carry your backpack. You can have like a pistol and that's it. So they're basically becoming the key that you've got to protect. So, you know, the first time I did it successfully was in a group of 3, because it takes 2 people to really cover one, because of you're moving through an area. So someone's got the front, someone's got the back, and the guy that you're protecting is in the middle. And yeah, so I don't think it is a solo activity. I think it is definitely tailored at like 3 to 4 people, much like the Connie was when it was originally pitched Algared. That's kind of where my brain goes.
Yeah.
And then the second area, you kind of go in it, and that's kind of where the worms and stuff are. And it's got a shuttle, so you're meant to go down to an area where you can fly to because it's protected from the storms, and then you take a shuttle across to the second area. So there's combat in the first area, and they're all NPCs and stuff, and then you take a shuttle across to the other area where your ship's not meant to be able to go. And then you do the combat there. You get in, you get the egg. You essentially put the egg in, the worm comes out, you kill the worm and collect all the goodies, and then go all the way back again to your ship and get out. So there's a lot of risk there now, because you are abandoning your ship. You're traveling on a tram going all the way across. Then you've got to, once you've got the goodies in your hand, you've got to come back not knowing if a ship's even going to be there. And there were people on the PTU, the first thing they did when they turned up, they just shot all the ships. Because there's no crime stat, because it's in Pyro.
Yep.
So I guarantee you there is going to be someone that stays back, and they are just going to be on the ship covering the ship, or they'll just go fly off somewhere and come back and pick you up. It really is, it's not really made for individuals. So yeah. All right, I think that's all the questions. We haven't had any new ones come in, unless you've got one.
Dub Coyote does have a question for us on YouTube. It's what's the story with the Mantis variant? I thought that would have been a quick release.
So when that was found as a line of code, it was called the EMP Mantis, and that was over 12 months ago now. What are you doing? Ow! Ow! What are you doing?
And the last time we heard about it was on an ISC where they had the ship team on.
Yeah.
And they're just talking about what they'd been doing, and the one guy said he was working on a RSI heavy fighter based on the Mantis, and that's all we've really heard. And it was kind of the...
And he was only doing concept, though, so that's probably still, you know...
And that was just a concept artist when they were talking. So
much like the Kruger Light Fighter, they've got to finish all those concepts, and then it's 18 months of work. So it's still essentially probably close to 2 years before we're going to see anything like that. So yeah.
Yep.
All right, is that everything? Because I don't have any more questions coming in. I'm getting messages from someone. Hang on. What are you sending me here, Daft? Yeah, we've already got images like that, Daft. That's fine. Yeah, so it's the Prowler. What he's doing? He's done something to them to change.
So while we have finished the questions, to go back to the title for today, the storm is coming. We haven't talked about what is coming.
Well, it's just the name, Stormbreaker, unleashing the storm. So
and just the patch and the storms and
that's all it really is. There's nothing really special or hidden in there at all. It's just, you know.
Yeah, go watch the video on what's coming in terms of the storm.
The rain is really cool. It is a really cool effect. It feels wet. It feels kind of dark and dismal there, and you can obviously see why they've picked irradiated worms, because they just stand out, look amazing. The storms are really cool. The storms can completely disable your ship. We now actually have active hazards in game for the first time, and I look forward to seeing more of them. And quite honestly,
and you'll remember way back when they first did the showed gameplay of the Connie and the rover. You had to land at the base and take your rover to the site because of the atmospheric stuff stopping the ship down. Exactly the same type of stuff here with the storms just stopping the ship flying. And that ties in with what we saw at CitizenCon, where the storm could zap your ship and blow it out of the sky type stuff. So so it's good to see. I don't think gameplay is changing in terms of what we've been told in the past. It's just we're seeing it the impact of it, and that's good. So yeah.
So Pisspol Pete says, does the newly introduced Atlas Icky Rad variant in the latest patch notes indicate their intention to maybe sell the bad variant or the blade variant? I don't know what he means. Oh, base variant. I think they've just got different variants because you can essentially, when you go out to Wikilows, you can either take a Geo or an Atlas and put guns on it. Right? I think that's just the two variants in a nutshell. You can also find one of the variants at the ASSD locations as you mentioned in your next.
Dob Cody has a question for us. Another question. Any chance you would do the fleets at different price points video again? Love it years ago. Yes, it is something we've discussed. We should redo.
We do often go back and look at videos we've done and see if they need an update, but sometimes we fall into the danger of doing them too soon because like we were going to sit down and do a video and I went, how could I just look this up? We only did this 6 months ago.
Yep.
So we sometimes forget our own stuff. So
yep. But ships at different price point could be something we redo again because it has been a while since we did that.
A lot more ships now.
And there are a lot more ships to choose from. So
yeah. But it's pretty easy to do because like let's be honest, you essentially look at what you want to do in the game, and when we do all these fix my fleets, it's just an intervention of sorts. Yeah. You know, someone comes in and they go, we just essentially, what is the gameplay you want? So the first question we always ask them is, what is the top 3 things you want to do in the game? And then that kind of gives us a baseline. And sometimes we've expanded that to be like 6 or 7 different professions depending on the person, and how much ship and money they've got and things like that. And then we hone it right in. So if they've only got 3 or 4 ships, we look at the, you know, who they want to play with. Do they want bang for buck? You know, all that type of thing. And then we hone in on what they want. And, you know, I'm trying to think of one I did one with someone really recently and I basically sent him away with a bunch of homework. He hasn't come back. But that happens a lot.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, you know, we'll often say to people, you know, sometimes they'll come and say, oh, I want to get this ship, but I can't afford it. And I say, you know, well, and that's kind of where you go. You say, well, what do you want to do in game? And you go, and you say, well, why have you got all these fighters if this is a ship you really want? And, you know, so it becomes, okay, well, if you melt those, you can actually get the ship you want. And it's just really trying to help people tailor their fleets. I think it's more being a sounding board for people.
Yeah.
We make suggestions, they take what they want.
Yeah.
And
that's why we don't have any problems because we never force them to do anything. It's not about forcing them. It is literally just listening and almost saying what they say to us back at them. You know, there's no special gift here. It's the only thing that we kind of recommend is like, what ship do we think best suits what they're telling us they want to do?
Yeah.
It's
and sometimes I say, no, I don't like that ship because I don't like the design, and that's a fair cop, you know, and it's just.
I know you know who I'm talking about, but that's still the worst one I've ever heard. I don't like this brand of ship. I would never buy that ship because I don't like this manufacturer. And I'm like, but that's the only ship that does what it does.
It's the only ship that does everything you want to do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're looking at this ship, and this ship, you know, and sometimes, you know.
Did you just sit on the keyboard? You let us sit on the keyboard. Oh, darling. Oh, darling, what did you do?
Said missiles and bombs and torpedoes can be exploded with
They
EMP.
missed all that Algared because Society said on the keyboard and reset Discord. So you want to say that again, please?
So Stimpack Steve said, since CIG have said missiles, bombs, and torpedoes can be exploded with EMP, do you think that we will get loads of new EMP ship variants?
Well, there are actually missiles that I believe the Sentinel and the Banu Defender have EMP missiles as well. So does that mean you can use a missile to take out a torpedo? You know, like almost like a chaff for torpedoes?
Yep. Well, you know, I can remember when EMPs first came out and they were using the Raven. I think it was the Raven that was being used, and the Raven was knocking out, you know, Starfarers. But I can remember I was in the 890 jump and they tried to knock out the 890 jump. And whereas the other ships would turn off, the 890 jump just flicked a little bit and then just kept going. And so whether that's the same type of thing, you know, a small torpedoes will be more easily affected than the bigger torpedoes because they've got less things to protect them from the stuff that's going on. So yeah.
Still trying to go back and find this guy that I was helping the other week, but for the life of me I can't find who it was. Man, I talked to too many people.
Do you want to reshare the screen?
Oh yeah, in Discord. Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah,
bad girl, sorry. Okay. It's your fault. You did that, didn't you? You're so sorry to Algared for doing it. No, that's not very nice, is it? Huh? Don't look at me like that, like you don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway. She's the troublemaker, by the way. The only girl in the house.
And
all the guys are in love with her, but she's the biggest troublemaker. She gets away with murder. You know what they're like.
Yep. And Stimpec Steve, thank you for that basic membership on YouTube. Awesome.
The WA has a new question there. I'm going to cut that at the front of the line because it actually sounds quite interesting. I'll look it up in a second. But he says leaks of new Freelancer paints are coming out now for the newest 4.2 build. Any indication of a Freelancer rework soon? Bring up potential Starlancer standards, or a man can dream. There could just be new skins for the Freelancer. It doesn't say anything.
But
in hope
you're always welcome to dream.
Yeah, and be hopeful. Whoa. Okay, I gotta show this on screen because I don't think Algared will believe that if I don't show it. All right, you want to get down? All right. Here we go. Let me just switch this over. That one, and then let me open it. Now, I think this is what I think it is, but Algared, you tell me if it's not what you think it is. Look on the wing.
Hasn't come up yet.
It doesn't.
Hang on. Don't worry. I was looking at the
I'm gonna say he's now going blind, ladies and gentlemen.
I was looking at the YouTube, and the YouTube was lagging behind.
Yeah,
now, that is a Star Kitten.
Yeah, it's very clearly a Star Kitten. These other ones don't look as impressive. They're just different color variants. Probably the most standout one is this one. It's like a mustard yellow. I'm actually wondering if these are in-game companies, Algared. Could these be the first of the delivery mission skins? So there's that one, and I don't know, you tell me. I'm trying to think, because that does look like a brand. Then I'm just trying to think of different brands that have these color combos. Then there was this one, just like a red, a red and black.
Red-winged.
Yeah, and then it's got the yellow on the wings. So they actually are reminding me of brands. This one, for some reason, what is it, Kelco, or at Horizon, the little convenience store there, the Selcos or Kelcos or whatever it's called. Very similar colors to that. I'm actually wondering if that's what they are. They're the first of the reputation-based skins. Then we've got some Storm and Pulse referral skins that are very similar to the Solstice skin on the Zeus. So they're kind of like black, gray, gold. I'll just open the Pulse one real quick to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Pretty kind of cool. And then there's one very similar to the Storm. You guys know what a Storm looks like, I'm sure.
In response to the Freelancer skins, Henrik said, people fly the Freelancer?
Freelancer, if it was newer, I know a lot of people it would be their favorite ship.
I've got
yeah.
To reiterate, like I've been doing salvage for the last week.
Yeah.
And I have salvaged quite a few player Freelancers. So yeah, people do fly it. I was surprised.
Yeah. The other thing I'll point out is that Star Kitten paint is shown on all 4 variants of the Freelancer. So it doesn't work on just one, it works on all of them. So yeah, that's really interesting. Star Kitten. I wonder if it's got anything to do with the racing suit. Because they sold the Pulse with the Star Kitten thing.
The Star Kitten racing suit pulse fits in a Freelancer.
And maybe it was really popular, so they've just decided to make a Freelancer skin. Sell more Freelancers.
Yep.
It could be as simply as that. Here's a Star-Kitten skin for a ship that not a lot of people buy to encourage sales of said ship. And what's coming up? We got Foundation Festivals not too far away either, is it? That's a little bit after. That's like between Alien Week and Ship Showdown.
I can never remember the date, but yeah, something
along those lines. So yeah. That's kind of it on that one. I'll have a quick look on the other one and see if I can see anything. Nothing new there.
Yeah, I can't see any other questions on YouTube.
I've got a couple that have come up in the Q&A thing. So what was it? Here we go. So here we go. This one's from Cravictus, who says, now we've had a bunch of new ships and vehicles released. What is your favorite in-game vehicle of new ships and vehicles? So, but then you say, what is our favorite in-game vehicle? So you want to know our favorite ground vehicle? That's kind of where my brain goes, or just overall everything.
My favorite vehicle, ground vehicle at the moment, is the Ursa. I just like the Ursa.
Yeah, there is something about the Ursa. I do have a lot of fun in some of the smaller stuff. But I'm going to be honest, from a function perspective, I don't think the Ursa can be beat.
Yep.
I do think the MPC will rival that. Because of the armor and stuff, but again, that's not in the game right now, so that changes it quite a bit. There's not many good vehicles, to be honest with you. We need that ground combat. We need better medical. Like you can see, there's pieces that got to move into place. Base building needs to be there, but I think once base building gets in, you'll definitely see a lot more need for ground warfare.
Yeah, in terms of ships, recently I've been in the using not only the Reclaimer and the Vulture, but the Phoenix, the Aurora CL, the Volt. What else? They're main 4 ships I've been using.
So I think I've just kind of clicked on what Piss Poor Pete's been trying to say. So the last 2 patches they've done patch things. So I wonder if I can still go on the website and it actually shows it right now. Just give me a second. Is it still there, or have they removed it? I'd assume it is still there in the store. Just give me a second. So I can store. Bang. Right. Is it there? Is it there? Yes, it is. All right. So at the moment, these are known as patch bundles, right?
Yep.
And the last one they did was the Corsair with the black and gold suit and the electric gun, right? And now they've done the Vanguard with these 3 sets of armor. I think what Pete's getting at, and I'm connecting dots here, Pete, so tell me if I'm off the mark, but I think what he's suggesting is they're going to sell another bundle with an ICTY for like $30, so you can just buy it and get the ICTY, or you can go in game yourself and get it for free. Much like the Wicklow set of armor that you could get for free, or you could get the black and gold one. I think he's 100% correct if that's what you're implying, or if I connected dots that you weren't even talking about, Piss Poor Pete. Let me know on Twitch. Yeah, I think that's what they're going to do. I think the next patch will have an ICTY for sale. It makes a lot of sense. You can buy it for $30, or you can go in game and earn it for free.
If those items are the things you can earn in game, I think that would tie in with the type of things I've heard Chris talk about in the past, where he wanted players to be able to buy stuff if they didn't have time to hunt it, but also it's in game, available in game. And what you do is you pay for those who are time poor, you pay the cash to get what you want, and those who are time rich, you earn it.
Yeah, because there's some lines of code that suggests this is a 3rd variant, and they're all called ICTY. So you've got Atlas ICTY, Atlas Geo ICTY, and then there's this one here called, it's coming up as ICTY Rad, or Atlas ICTY Rad. So yeah, I'd assume that last one is a rad for me sounds like radiation. So the whole patch is about the worms and the radiation. So a radiation skin for you just make it sells itself. You can see it. So it's like a glow in the dark ichty suit that you can buy. Now that tracks. That tracks with the other patch ones we saw.
Does that mean that those radiation suits we got as Flare ages ago are also work in that area?
Probably should. Yeah.
The toxic suits. Remember them?
Yeah. I remember.
So. Yeah.
Nice to see you there, Gasoline Moth, first time chatter. There's another one there from Inforunners. With the whacker starting, the fixes are coming with the jittering vehicles with 4.2. Do you see more people actually using the Nova tank and other ground vehicles with the storm incoming, or do you think that there would still be a need, more reason to use them? See, I don't know, I'm hijacking your question there, Gideon, but he actually has made me think of it. Instead of you land and catch a tram to the other area, what if it had been, why wasn't it just a tunnel that only vehicles could go through? It would have solved the entire problem. And it would have meant people rocked up, you could have still rocked up solo too, with your Connie or MSR or whatever, deploy a vehicle, and then you go in with MTC or an Ursa or whatever, and then all of a sudden there's your ground combat or an ICTY. Oh my god, like that's such a better idea.
I could see part of it would be the need for space distance between the ships. Otherwise, why, if I'm landing so close and it's only like 200 meters or 500 meters away, why don't
I'm going to be honest with you, Gideon. I actually haven't tested a vehicle in the storm, but I'd assume the way they do distortion damage, they'll stuff up a vehicle just as quickly as they stuff up a ship. So again, I haven't tested it. I cannot confirm, but I'd assume it is the case because they only seem to work around areas that are protected, like the actual landing zones. If you just like randomly fly down into the planet, pretty damn quickly your ship is going to get disabled. Pyro 1 is not the same place it was before the storms were there. You used to be able to fly in and go to different places and stuff, and now it is just the entire planet is a storm. It's very cool and it looks amazing and it's very blue, but it is like perpetually raining there, and it is not the place it was before now.
Okay.
So Bowler asks, next question, just bring it up. He says, do you think the 600i rework will be put into production after the new employees finish training? I think it's a priority order. I just don't, I just don't think it's a priority. I think it is after 1.0. And the last we heard of it was someone asked that at the Chinese bosses, and they said nothing's been done. Because again, it's not a priority. It's them essentially encouraging you to buy more of it and telling you that you're going to fix it so you don't melt them. But they're not going to work on it right now. That's what that all was. That was a stopgap to stop people melting and keep buying them, because everyone was saying it was in a really bad state, and they know it's in a really bad state.
They know it's in a bad state.
But do you think they would even bring out a concept? No, they'd just do it. They were going to do it. They would never would have brought out the concepts. Yeah. I think a lot of the luxury ships have that problem. Phoenix is another one.
I think you look at the Phoenix and you can tell that it was made with a view of navigation, like character and NPC navigation, because the seats are so far apart from the tables, and it's just so you don't clip into the stuff. So it's the same as why we have crouch spaces instead of crawl spaces, because you reduce the space that the character takes up, so you're not getting caught on geometry. So
Victus also asks, what are your favorite paints? I think for me it's the black and gold ones, so things like the Zeus Solstice paint, the Nautilus Solstice paint, the Mercury Night Runner, the Spirit Olympia paint, things like that. I don't know why I just like the black and gold ones. There is just no good black and red ones. even the latest ones that came out that they put with the blades, the fact that they were kind of like a charcoal gray and metallic red was just 6 degrees of separation enough for me to, once I got them on a ship and got them in game and looked at them, I just went, no, this is not what I wanted. I want black and red, not charcoal and metallic. And they were kind of, they do speak to me as in their layout is mostly black with a little bit of red, but they were the wrong
wrong shades.
Finishes. Yeah. Metal and charcoal just didn't work for me. And I put them on things like the Redeemer, and the other Redeemer skin I had, I think, looked better. The Hammerhead one I was very tempted to keep because there is no good skin for the Hammerhead. There's literally the default green emerald one and that. But again, there'll be more in the future. And I just, on purpose, I wasn't going to keep the blades. I cannot support that shit. Not they might have sold a lot, but I think the other thing is how many people actually kept what they sold. And I think, again, from the poll we did, it was, what, 12%? That's not a lot of people.
For me, the skins I like the Heartbreaker of a Heartseeker skin for the Hornet.
That one on the mole is very, the Love Struck paint, you know, those kind of metallically, on the mole is the best one you can get. I do own that one for the mole. I did have one for the arrow for a time.
Yep. So I like the Heartseeker skin on the Hornet because it's got the nose art. I really like the shark skin for the Idris with the
very nice.
Jaw. That is a really nice skin.
I'd expect to see one for the Kraken too, wouldn't you? Something I would expect something
similar,
nautically based with maybe like a giant octopus or something. That'd be kind of cool. Kraken,
that'd be nice.
Yeah.
I also quite like the emerald skin on the Phoenix, green and white. That took me by surprise when I was flying the other day. The metallic green, but the white highlights on it made it look quite nice. It was so I didn't mind that. But I'm not really a skin guy. You know, there'll be the skins that I.
Yeah, I'm definitely the skin guy of the two of us. That's for sure.
I'm unfortunately the ship guy, not the skin guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Which is what scares me about the way they're going with monetization, because I would just have to back out because I'd spend too much money. Yeah. Right. And we're on to kind of the last question there, where this looks like it is going to be a shorter stream. We're coming up to about 2 hours and 15 minutes. But we are going into that quiet period now, guys. It is, Invictus is passing, and Alien Week, once Alien Week is done, it'll be literally a lull period from the end of there all the way essentially to October. So we're going into, and it's the quietest part of the year. And as I say to people every time we enter these is, if you are still watching us at that point, you are that hardcore audience. You are the people that turn up to CitizenCon. You are the people that follow this game every day, and you'll notice regular names that disappear. You won't see them until again, and we notice that a lot, don't we, Algared? Like there's at least 10 people I can think of where they just disappear and we don't see them for 6 months.
And my question with the Storm, because I just noticed some people saying they've got to go into the Storm and try the Storm, is if the Storm does fry the ship, you might need someone, if you've got someone with a whole pile of fuses, that he'll keep you going. So
no, it just does so much distortion damage. The ship just doesn't work because it kills all the components. It kills everything. It is literally. I don't know if it's going to stay that way, right? But it is literally a hazard. And the first time it happened to me, I wasn't even in the storm. I was going across the top of it in a warp, and a strike came up and hit me, and it disabled the Guardian, and I just tumbled into the cloud, and then under the cloud, into the storm, and I just hit the ground and exploded, and I was gone. I was like, that was awesome. It was such a, I was like, shit, like that was just like out of nowhere. Like I'd just been hit by a shark or something. It was really cool. And then the next time I went in, I wonder what happens if I go into the capital ship. So I took a Polaris in, it completely disabled I drove into the storm and it disabled the Polaris, and I just thought, I'll just sit here and wait till it passes. I waited for like half an hour, and I was watching YouTube, doing other things, and the storm just kept going. It didn't go over the top. It did, but there are parts that it will eventually pass, but it might take hours, because if you look at some of those storms, they are like literally half the size of the planet. It was crazy. Like I went through like a whole 24-hour, well, you know, a night and day cycle. So yeah, Storm's going to be really bad, and it makes me think. And you'll know what I'm about to say. Can we install certain subcomponents that block that? Is that the next step when engineering comes in? See where I'm going, right? We know engineering is just around the corner. In come the subcomponents. All right, now you want to go to Pyro 1, you can install this, and it won't disable you for 10 minutes in the storm.
Well, is that kind of where fuses go as well? You know, can you put heavy fuses in with?
Yeah. And I have had that interaction in the Asgard I had with the fuses. So there is some basic engineering stuff in there already. So yeah, but yeah, you're right. It probably could be along fuses as well. But
so
like,
if you're, but fuses blow first and then components blow. So if you're
but it's so quick, Algared. Like it's so quick. There's no point putting it in because as soon as you get hit by lightning, it's gone. So you're gonna have you'll probably start to take off and then just crash again.
But some ships have one fuse in the section. Some have two. Some have three. So.
Well, again, I went in a Polaris, and I don't reckon I flew for longer than 20 seconds, and I was already disabled.
And the Polaris has several fuse banks, so that becomes a nightmare to try and replace them.
And all the screens, all the MFDs went distorted and stuff like that. But in the Guardian MX, which was the first one I was in, it literally, like, everything went off. It just went completely black, like it was dead. Yep. I tried turning the engines back on. And everything came back on, but the MFDs were, like, damaged. They just wouldn't turn back on. So maybe it was fuse based in the MX because, again, I was going across the top. So a lightning strike with the fuse would kind of make more sense there. But again, once I was under the clouds and I was in the storm,
you were done.
I was done. So yeah, but I start to think of other hazards, like we know fire's coming with engineering. So I think it's becoming we know that there are smog planets with toxins and stuff like that. So I just like the thought of where this is going.
And that makes engineering will change, I think, using those multi-cruise ships solo. You will still be able to do it, but the damage when you need to change things, it's going to be a lot harder. You will want to use, you know, I probably won't want to be using my reclaimer for solo stuff because I'll need someone there to be helping do repairs because the big ship, and I think the bigger ship is that'll be one of the conditions you have. Does that change the view on buy big, earn down? No, because I still think, based on what I'm seeing, the reclaimer is just so much more versatile in terms of being able to salvage stuff. Yeah. And I found that when I did, you know, Xeno threat with the Aurora versus the Retaliator, or the Gladiator versus the Retaliator in earnings. The Retaliator just stomped on the earnings that the others made. So.
Yeah, and then again, you can look at ships like the Golem and the Prospector. I think that makes it really obvious there, where it's got nothing to do with the number of people. Clearly, the Prospector is going to trample all over the Golem. Yeah. Get what you pay for. Right, so this question I brought up ages ago that we still answers. John Craves works. What ship do you think the most needs different turret options like the Scorpius got? Arrow, Vanguards, Buccaneer. I did hear Grim talking about this, and he was suggesting things like the Perseus could come with kits, as could the Hammerhead. And I think the Hammerhead would be one that would probably, I'd have to sit here and really think about them. But the Hammerhead's in-game, it's got quad cannons. You could see very quickly if you all of a sudden had dual size 5s in all the turrets, that would totally change that ship. Like a lot.
It would change it from being anti-fighter to anti-ship.
Yeah, it basically can take out like Connie's ships at its own grade, like Perseuses and Polarises and stuff, and then up a little bit as well. It brings it from the punch down to the punch around its own area. You know,
and we've now got certainly the different turrets that we've got with the Idris really do lend themselves to showing what they can do. So that size 7 turret on the front of the Idris, that size 7 mount, has, you know, a dual mount for 2 size 5s, a dual mount for ballistics, a dual mount for energy weapons, a dual mount for missiles.
Essentially, the bigger you go, the more kind of progression you want. So just having the turrets be able to change on a Hammerhead, I think that makes a lot of sense. You know, it gives you a bit of progression. It allows you to work into things, and it also gives you a bit of versatility and player choice. You know,
Yep.
like I kind of was sitting here thinking, how would it work if you could also go to the extreme of single size 6s on all the turrets?
Yep. Well, the
And
other
then
thing
I
is,
went, maybe not, because then it starts to tread on the Perseus itself.
well, you might be able to do that, but then you've got the
Let me put
power allocation becomes an issue.
well, let me
So
put it this way: if you can take the Perseus and put like quad size 4s on it, you see where I'm going, right? It literally just becomes a hammerhead then. And that's the thing you got to be careful of. Like, yes, give it a bit of flexibility that it can tread into the other ship, but it can't just literally become the other ship. But the thing with the hammerhead, if you put size 6s on the turrets, they're being a bigger power drain than the other thing. So the power back of a ship would struggle. So you could do it, but then it's not going to have a power. But you've only got one size 6, not 4 size 4s. I don't know. I'd have to really sit back and have a look at the component stuff. Yeah, you're probably right. But you get where I'm going, right? Though.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be able to give player choice and option, right? But you don't want it to be able to literally become everything. Yeah, you can't do too much. Any ship that can do everything it's
broken.
Yeah, it's just broken.
The other thing that I think of it makes the different turrets make sense is also the different types of ammo. So the ballistic cannon.
True. Yeah.
If you can put black ammo or the different types of ammo they've talked about. To me, that seems to lend itself to being ballistic.
Yep.
And that makes sense for the turrets. Why do I want ballistic guns on this turret? It's because I can put the different types of ammo on the turret.
Well, we know that's coming in with the Medusa turrets on the Perseus, but you can see that really quickly. Like, once you can actually have an ammo box, why can't you have an entire ammo box of, again, let's look at the hammerhead, right? One turret has, and I'm not remembering all the ammo types, right? But let's say one's got EMP rounds, one's got black rounds. So you can literally put different things on different turrets. And then again, it gives player choice because you can face the ship a certain way to do certain things and stuff like that, or different roles. So, that person's really good at anti-fighter. Another person is stopping torpedoes. Another person is, here I'm going, right? It gives more versatility to the ship, but you can stuff up just as quickly as you can succeed. Johnny, put the right ammo in, you dickhead. Like, you can see the panic and stress and the tension that's going to build.
And if you got player choice in terms of swapping the guns or the ammo type, have one quad turret, have 2 set for anti-fighter and 2 set for flak. So you can change then it changes what you're doing with your gun. So
makes me wonder, and there's nothing to support what I'm about to say here, but we know that they talked about batteries, right? For could you put a different battery in, and it, instead of changing like the ammo type, but it possibly changes how lasers fire? You know what I mean? So can it do almost more like a beam fire, right? Or can it do lots of small ones but really quickly? Or can it do a really strong one that's just a single pulse? You see what I'm, almost like blades, but for batteries is what I'm trying to say. That could be a really interesting thing too, because we know you can do different fire rate patterns on guns.
Yep.
You see where I'm going, right? I don't know if that could be a thing. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but we do know batteries are a thing. No, put that out there for food for thought. Have a think about that one, Algared. It just came to me. Yeah.
Yep, just looking at the chat. New.
X0 says the Cutlass Black can do everything. No, it can't. Tell me how Tech0 how it can mine. Tell me how it can salvage. Repair. Build a base. I know how it can do medical.
Without taking a vehicle or a...
Yeah. Tell me how it can carry a Nova tank. So yeah.
But yes, it can do a lot.
It can do a lot though. Yes. But so can a lot of other generalist ships as well.
Yeah.
But it is a ship of its time. The older ships tend to have a lot more versatility as time has gone on. But yeah, the Cutlass does do a lot. It's good for what it does, but it's not perfect, and that's a good design ship. No ship should be perfect, but I think the problem is, how do I put this? When they deliberately stump things, like certain ships where they'll put a something on top of the ship just so one of the turrets can't fire forward, rather than designing the ship or where the turret is placed to do that. You don't just go put a wing there or something like that to block. Like, for example, the Freelancer's got a little one on it. The Starlancer's got one on it as well, where they put things.
The Phoenix has got one that kind of
limits
the arc of a ship.
Yeah.
So yeah, or you don't put a turret there. So the Idris M lacks a rear-facing turret.
Yeah.
But the Idris B has one. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think we'll call it there because the questions ran up. Me and Algared are both exhausted. We've had quite a week, so we'll start to wrap it up. I'm just going to quickly go see who we can raid on the old. If you've got any suggestions for who you want to raid on Twitch, please let me know now. And we will maybe someone new. I'm just trying to look through here real quickly if there's anyone I know.
Thank you guys for joining us for 2.5 hours of meandering through.
I think we're going to raid Subliminal. We haven't raided him in a long time, and he's got a few people on there. Got 42 people. Sounds like Providence. And he does not stream as much as he used to. All right. So let's cut over to Subliminal. Let's see if I've got that correct. And I'll mute him real quick. He seems to be doing... I do not know what he's doing. He's doing something in Photoshop anyway. So you'll have to find out what he's doing over there. But he's doing stuff on guides and sticks by the look of it. Yeah. So hello to Subliminal. Hope he's doing well. We've known him for a really long time. He probably doesn't. I don't know if he even remembers. So Algared. Back for when See the Six was around.
A long time ago.
Yeah. So yeah. Twitch say goodbye to YouTube. YouTube say goodbye to Twitch. Hope you have a good time over there. Bye. And Twitch is gone. They're off. So let's cut it over and a quick listen. Do something with VKBs by the look of it. Making graphics for VKB.
Yo, Inforunners with the raid. What's up, guys? Dav Digital, how's it going? Were you orchestrate this?
No, he did not. It was all me. All right.
Nice. Welcome to stream.
You have a good raid, mate. We'll love you and leave you there. Yeah.
Take care.
Take care. But yeah, with that, look forward to the TAC video coming out. I'm pretty sure that's one we'll get out this week, and we'll put some of the others in the bank that we record this weekend, Algared. Yeah, all right. With that, then, I'm trying to think of anything else. Yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and thank you to everyone with the extra mile on Patreon at the end of the video. Anything you add?
Appreciated. Never required, but definitely appreciate it.
And we'll probably give away that Asgard next week on stream, I think, from the video.
Hopefully when our bot's working, because then we don't spend all our time trying to find a question.
I think it was the last thing we needed today. We were both really tired, so it just made it that more tiring.
I said you're right at the beginning. Oh man, it was a rotten night's sleep. I'm absolutely knackered.
Yeah, and I'm much the same. So yeah.
And you said the bot's not working. I was like, oh no.
Last thing I needed. So yeah. All right. With that, then he's been Algared.
He's been Execute, and we're out of here. Take care.
See you, citizens.